going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmission, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's our weekly live stream where we talk about news, current events, um, you know, certain ideas, as well as our movie review. With me, as ever, is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, I mean, lots of things going on today. Today's election day, and so we won't, even though it's election day, we won't hear, anything about it for like a week. So, because that's how modern politics works now, apparently.
Especially with all those, early ballots coming in, and it's like it just takes so long to count them.
I know, right? I know, but like election day, even though they said, the founders set it up as election day, what they really meant was election month.
Yeah. But
we'll if we hear anything, we'll give you an update or whatever. I'm hoping that you're watching us instead of the election results because you are not a crazy person.
Yeah.
and you're kind of tired of like the constant high like cortisol, like whose team's gonna win and this and that, and the tabulation machines are not working in Republican areas, and so like we have to get all jacked up and and run around and chasing our own tails.
We'll let the professional pundits handle that and go crazy.
Yeah.
But like I said, based off the belly aching I'm hearing on social media, I think that's from all the libs. I think that's a pretty good sign so far. But how's your week been? We haven't talked since last week, so we get caught up a little bit.
Yeah. What is it? Oh man, it's like I can't remember what even went on this weekend. I did stuff. I know I did stuff. What was it? It was yesterday was my niece's birthday, and it was actually her first birthday. New niece. For those of you following. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and not all related to me. That's just what I call young people or kids that are my friends or like my family. It's just it's just simpler.
You're like the world's uncle.
I'm the world's uncle. That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm the world's uncle. But yeah, it was my niece's first birthday, and but we celebrated on Sunday. And it was good, I was given the honor of praying a blessing over her, in front of our family, and so that was really special. What else did I do? Oh, I saw the new DC movie Black Adam.
What'd you think?
I didn't hate it, although I didn't hate it, but it wasn't the best movie I've ever saw. But I would say it was pretty competent. It was a pretty competent offering from DC. I mean, despite the hit and misses that they've given us over the years.
Good Lord.
Yeah. What was it? The only actor that I didn't really like was the actor who played Hawkman. I just wasn't feeling it. It's like for one, he's not a very good actor, or at least not a very good actor in this role. Because I recognize him, but I don't remember him from any other roles. But in this role as Hawkman, he just kind of fell flat for me. What else? Helped out at my church's food bank. That's always nice because I've been doing it for better part of a year now, and I'm recognizing people, and they're remembering me, and we're able to create we're able to establish this a kind of a relationship, and I get to ask them about their how their family's doing, how they're doing personally, and it's very fulfilling. Um,
Sounds awesome. Yeah, my week has been nothing too exciting. I actually had a lot of time off. I took some vacation time. I had some time off, so which kind of worked out because I ended up not I ended up getting sick over the weekend. So
mm,
it kind of worked out that I had some extra time off.
mm,
One thing I forgot to mention from last week. We had Robert Lane on a number of weeks ago, kind of talking about his new book. My copy, my physical copy, came in. I got a signed copy from him. I've been kind of working through that, and if you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, check it out. It is really good, and like I said, it's not a self help book. It's something. It's just he's he's telling very fun stories, but like how he dealt with certain situations or situations he saw through his time in the entertainment industry, and like um and you don't necessarily have to be in the entertainment industry to kind of deal with some like having these things, like you're dealing with stress, or how to say no to things, or kind of time management. That's something that everyone can use, and he gives a lot of interesting tools. So I was like, I've actually started using some of his ideas. It's actually worked out pretty well, to be honest. Because sometimes my work is really stressful, and I had to deal with a lot of characters. I'll just say, I
mm.
love them, but they're characters, and it gets kind of stressful. And yeah, just kind of learning how to deal with that a lot better. So yeah, go ahead and pick up a copy of Lights Action U. It's on Amazon right now. Not that expensive. Pretty, and it's a quick read. It's only 160 some pages. Not too bad. Um, Other than that, I've realized I have not been wearing my hat the last couple weeks. I don't know why. But I guess I just haven't been putting it on. What else have I been doing? Yeah, just kind of did a whole bunch of like training for like my new position today. That was super exciting. Ooh, I've been on
Mm,
Zoom all day, and it's been great.
mm.
Uh, oh, getting some really good feedback on the Heidelberg episode too. The Cut Above guys really loved it. They thought it was uh, that it was a really good interview. They liked our movie review. And I've been hearing good things from other people who've been watching it too. So great
Oh, good,
news.
good, good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it.
So
Yeah, no, it
it's
was a good episode. So yeah, if you haven't
yeah.
already, please do check it out.
But yeah, they posted up on their social media and stuff, and they just came out with their episode on Terrifier 2, which I have not seen. I don't know if that would be the type of movie I would want to watch. They certainly made the conversation made me want to watch it, but I don't know. It's that might not be my type of horror film.
Mm,
It might be a little too gruesome for me,
hmm
but I'll check it out. I might kind of dive down that hole. If it's not like Cannibal Holocaust or Human Centipede gross, I think I'll be all right. Those movies are like Human Centipede. I've never watched, but like just hearing the description of the film and like
Right.
what
The concept of the movie is just so.
fuck that movie. Just no fucking way.
Yeah, it's just yeah. The concept of the movie is just it's easy pass, easy pass.
Yeah, Cannibal Holocaust is like that too. It's just like I'm almost curious just because it's so like reviled, and yet a lot of people talk about it.
Mm,
It's like, yeah, I'm almost curious, but it's like I don't know if I can just dive down that hole. Not there yet. I'm not. I'm not at that point.
I see.
Um, but other than that, I've been kind of diving down the gambling movie hole since we that's what we've been working on. Um, Obviously, we're going to be talking about Rounders tonight.
Mm,
I got my wife to watch Rounders. I because she likes Matt Damon,
mm,
she likes Edward Norton, So she was able to watch it. She ended up liking it okay. And let's see, I got her to watch because last week I got her to watch The Father with Anthony Hopkins, and she's like, "Man, this guy's a really good actor." It's like, and I was like, "I want to see more of his movies." It's like, "You do? Okay."
Yeah,
So we
maybe
ended
just maybe hold off on what's it, Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, dude, no, she loved it.
Oh, she did.
Yeah. So
Okay.
first we started off with a movie I had never watched before called Solace, with him and Colin Farrell, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a supernatural murder mystery type of movie
Hmm.
from 2007. And she's like, "Damn, this guy's a really good actor." It's like, you want to see like the movie he's best known for, and it's about like he's a serial killer who helps our main character catch another serial killer. I'm in. And so we were watching Silence of the Lambs, and she was just like, "Oh my god, his character is so different from the other movies." It's like, yeah, he's,
Yeah.
he's
What
so
was it?
intense.
Yeah. He. What I heard was for Hannibal Lecter, he studied birds and reptiles.
Dude, it certainly pays off because that's exactly what I was thinking with that.
Yeah, like
Um,
his mannerism and the way he kind of like cocks his head and just kind of like the kind of like the blank stares. Yeah, it's all very reminiscent of like reptiles and birds.
oh god, yeah,
And
but God,
actually, kind of like a little bit of a meta thing, but like I don't know if you're familiar with the Rio movies,
yes,
the cartoons.
yeah. I watched
Yeah,
both of them.
in the second one, one of the guys, I forget who, it's I think it's Jeremy. He's the Flight of the Condors guys.
Yeah,
He plays like a white cockatoo, I think, but
yes.
he modeled it after Anthony Hopkins.
Shit,
His
that
his portrayal that I don't know if you remember that. I believe in the second movie, in the sequel, there's
yeah.
he Jeremy from Flight of the Condors, he plays like a cockatoo character, and he's like this kind of diabolical figure. But he said, I think in the interview he even said that I modeled it after Anthony Hopkins, who I heard studied birds for his for like the portrayal of Hannibal.
That makes so much sense too.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's yeah. Like, man, it's even though it's like an animated like movie, it's
Yeah,
like God,
kids movie.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so she loved Silence of the Lambs.
Hmm.
She's like, I want more Anthony Hopkins. So I'm gonna try to find like some of his other like best known works. But it was like, yeah, that's his. That's what when they think of Anthony Hopkins, they think of Hannibal Lecter, in
Hmm.
Silence of the Lambs. It's just, and she also likes Jodie Foster too. So that was an easy sell on her. And she also she's a big Scott Glenn fan too because she liked Daredevil and she liked
Hmm.
the character of Stick.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh my god, he looks so different because
He's
I think
old.
he kind of, well, he's older, but like I think that there was some makeup done because he does look a little Asian in the Daredevil show.
Does he?
Yeah, he does.
I don't know. I never noticed. He just looked like Scott Glenn. So
Okay,
yeah,
but anyway, so
yeah. An actor who I do really enjoy. Even though he's not, he's never been like really a leading man. He's been more of like a supporting character, but he's just so solid. Like
he's really good.
yeah, I loved him in what is it, Hunt for Red October. He was the skipper of the Dallas. Yeah, he's the
I haven't
skipper of the
seen that.
Dallas.
I haven't seen that forever.
Yeah, but he's great in that.
Oh, I should get her to watch The Edge. She'll like The Edge.
Oh yeah.
And then after that,
Wait, has she never seen the Thor movies?
The Thor movies?
Yeah.
No,
Like
she's seen them.
I mean, I know he's not in it a whole lot, but Anthony Hopkins is.
You know what? I had forgotten about that, but yeah, it's like I should have told her. It's like, oh, you know who that is? That's Odin. But and then after that, I got her to watch Misery with James Caan and Kathy Bates, and she was like,
"That's still a movie that I can't like revisit."
The ankling is
Yeah,
so
the hobbling. Oh my god, it's so unnerving. I like, even though since then I've seen worse shit. And it's just like that scene. I just can't. I just can't bring myself to watch that movie again.
What it is because the editing is done so well, because you see it on one foot and then it cuts away really fast, and like, but you know what's happening, and James Caan plays it so great with his just him in just horrible agony. It's just like, oh, and it was in I forgot what number it was, but it was in that 101 scariest movie moments,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, man, just that I've seen the movie a bunch of times, and every time I watch it, it's still just like, fuck, is coming. Oh no, oh, the hobbling. Fuck. That movie's really intense. It's so
Yeah,
like,
I know. Like, and I saw that movie as a kid.
me too. My mom, because I watched it with my mom, and
Yeah, again, me and just like inadvertently watching it because my cousins were horrible babysitters.
yeah, those rowdy cousins of yours.
My rowdy cousins. We were supposed to be watching me, but they're like, "Oh, just sit here, shut up, and watch this movie."
Yeah. Oh god, the hobbling. Fuck, dude. But yeah, it's like, because it's not really a other than like when the Buster the sheriff gets shotgunned in the chest.
Yeah.
It's actually really not a like gruesome movie. It's
No, I
not
mean,
like,
if you really break it down, there's not that many instances of like gore or other than like the hobbling and like the sheriff being shot.
yeah, that's it. It's actually really tame in that
Yeah,
department.
it's really just more of like suspense and just like kind of like torture like of the mind.
Well, because Rob Reiner, he studied Hitchcock, because he before he did this movie, like he watched like everything, that all the suspense thrillers that Hitchcock did,
Mm-hmm.
and it definitely has a lot of that in there.
Mm.
And I think that's what makes it so effective.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, that's but now I've convinced her to watch Cape Fear, the not the old one, because she won't watch black and white, but the remake is credible. It's okay.
Yeah, it's decent. It's decent.
I think I got her convinced to watch Color of Money as well,
Mm.
because she likes Tom Cruise. So
There you go. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and I think the new Cape Fear did enough to, kind of like how each iteration of Magnificent Seven or like or remake of Seven Samurai kind of like improved itself. Like
yeah.
I think Cape Fear, the new the Martin Scorsese one, is one of those efforts where like it actually improved on the original.
So I do like the original better, but I don't hate the remake, because hell, the original like director loved it. He said, like, Scorsese went to a place that I couldn't go to back in 1963,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, I totally approve of everything he did. It was brilliant. I wish I
Yeah, no, yeah, because like he did like because Scorsese went and like he did this, he drew upon the time it was made and like the angst of youth, rebelling against authority and like having the daughter like turn against or like be like brainwashed in a sense.
Yeah, I think that the only thing I don't really like all that much is how much of a schmuck they turned Sam Bowden into. I just
Yeah,
He's a little just
Gregory Peck, Gregory Peck's character was so much more like kind of like on the ball and with it, but
yeah. Because it felt like this horrible evil force was being forced against him,
mm-hmm.
like against he did everything right, and yet evil was trying to come after him and his family. I
Anyways,
think
yeah.
that was the better play, but they kind of made him like Sam Bowden in the remake a little bit more scummy, which I didn't really like.
Yeah. Well, like,
And
yeah, I mean, not like super scummy, but he like his nose was like slightly over the line. Let's just say,
yeah,
because there's like the whole like thing with like the affair, but it wasn't a physical affair. It was more of like an emotional, which could be argued be worse.
but I think it's highlighted that he's had affairs before.
Okay.
But no, the other thing I was like a little bit unnerved by was like the scene at the high school with the daughter and Max Cady. That was just like it's like almost too much. I just
it's very like, I think it's very perverse.
Yeah, I mean, it was alluded to in the original, which but like it was kind of like you knew what Max Cady was insinuating, but it wasn't. Your imagination did worse than like actually seeing it in the Scorsese version. But that, like I said, that's just more nitpicks. But I think my wife will like the remake. One, because it's in color.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really weird prejudice, but whatever. You know, I only say this because I'm a photographer who came up shooting in black and white. So, and learning to like really love it, and like, and also appreciating the mimetic quality of black and white. Because black and white, you think of writing. So, like when I take pictures in black and white, it's almost as though like I'm writing a story.
Yeah, I actually do own the original.
The original is awesome too. Don't get me wrong.
It's fucking great.
It's really up there.
I love Robert Mitchum. He's so awesome.
I know Robert Mitchum. Like, there's only been like a handful of Robert Mitchum movies that I've watched like where he was like a good guy, or at the very least a decent guy.
River of No Return is one.
Mm-hmm. I love that movie. I love that movie.
We need to review that. We have not.
Yeah, we should. You know what we should do? We should. I don't know why we haven't, but we should do a Robert Mitchum month.
Dude, I'm down. I would love that.
We should do, depending on the month, we can like do like 2 where he's like the bad guy and 2 where he's the good guy.
I'm down for that. That sounds awesome. We've done like 2 of my favorite of him as the bad guy with Night of the Hunter and Cape Fear.
Yeah.
But I know there's a whole bunch out there like where he's just a freaking nightmare of a character. It's awesome. But yeah, I totally be down to do Robert Mitchum month. I gotta get his biography too. I heard it's really good. I don't know if it's his autobiography. I think it's his autobiography. I think he wrote it actually. So it's like a lot of his like personal stories and his like don't give a shit attitude. Which is exactly what you'd expect from Robert Mitchum.
You'd hope so.
Yeah. But it's been pretty much my week. Just kind of. The weather's been a little bit rainy. I've been feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm feeling a lot better today, but like, it's just kind of been resting at home pretty much. But what topic should we tackle first?
Why don't we talk about Twitter? Twitter's been kind of fun lately.
Oh, it really has. So that is my social media of choice. That's the one I'm on most of the times.
Right.
And like I said, I use it for. I talk about things I like. I talk about movies. I talk about games. I talk about sports essentially. Mainly like auto racing. That's kind of like what I follow, and and so a lot of the people that I follow or follow me, I don't really care what their political leanings are. Honestly, like if you talk to me nicely, I'm gonna be nice in return. I mean, that's just how I've always operated, and everyone treats me actually pretty nicely, so that's not too bad. But the God, I know the ones that are like super duper crazy libs, and just all the fucking belly aching that they're doing. But then even like worse is like all the dumb celebrities that, this is how dare Elon? I'm gonna leave Twitter. Elon's ruining everything. He's a fascist. He's all this thing. It's like no, it's like he doesn't want there to be. I think a lot of some of the things that he's talking about is not a bad thing. Like I don't think that there should be you know random bots that like so where you have these randomly generated accounts that are all of a sudden that they're just these spouting the same thing as like whatever leftist attack is going on at the time. Like, oh,
Right. But again, like yeah, and again, like these people don't know what fascism means because if they knew what fascism meant, it's it's private company, but government run.
yeah,
Kind of what they have in China. Where it's like yeah, it's a private company, but the government has equity in it.
yeah, it's
And like yeah, and like even just recently, it's like it's not even a conspiracy to say, but like, the White House, what is it? Pravda Jen Psaki, she even said like they were working hand in glove with social media companies, telling them which posts to flag, and take down.
yeah.
This is and like that's what fascism is.
I mean, it literally came from the mouth of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. Like he literally said everything. He
Yeah.
told you
Yeah, like
what.
he went on Joe Rogan. He went on Joe Rogan and said like, yeah, the FBI came to us and said like, oh yeah, this Hunter Biden story is Russian disinformation. And he keeps softened it up by saying like, oh yeah, so we took a look at it and we decided that we were going to its limit its shareability. Just like so you did the bidding of the federal government. That's what you're saying.
It's like I look at it as like, okay, is what Elon Musk, is that going to like affect me any? Probably not. In fact, like I don't think it's going to affect me at all. Although I have noticed that like some of my my follower count went up after he took over. I don't know if that's on purpose, um, but yeah, it's just for me like I'm not doing anything nefarious on there. I'm using it for what it's supposed to be. Like it's kind of a way to talk with people who I wouldn't normally be able to talk to
Mm-hmm.
in my normal circle of stuff. Like honestly, like a lot of the especially the movie people I follow, like man, we have like super long conversations just about movies. Yeah, and it's like, oh, have you check this out? No, it's like, and vice versa. It's like I've gotten a lot of good movie suggestions from them. I'm like, oh shit, how have I not watched this? This is awesome. And vice versa. Like I talked about the Housemaid for like a long time on Twitter, and it's like, dude, this movie's so good, and like, cause they all like Korean films, so I was like, this is one of the best Korean films I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and it's an old one too.
yeah, it's like, and everyone that like I show that movie to, they're just like, damn, this is fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
It's so yeah, that's what I use it for. So it's not gonna affect, honestly, it doesn't affect me at all. What it does affect is people who are going on Twitter and like kind of creating these bots to threaten people. It's stopping people from maybe putting their their porn on Twitter, because I definitely see that on there.
Mm-hmm.
um there's all sorts of stuff that I think it's gonna get rid of and make it more of like what it's supposed to be, a social square where you can talk about things. And if you disagree with one another, whatever, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get to just like, they don't get to silence you or, take you out because of like what you're saying. And it's just like with anything that you're doing in the public. Obviously, if you're, shouting threats or saying something crazy,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's everyone can see it. So yeah, it's if someone's like looking at your post and like they don't like what you say, like yeah, it could affect your potential getting a job somewhere, sure. But like that's why you don't say weird crazy things like you're gonna kill somebody or like or going off on some like crazy tirade on something. Like for me, it's like I said, I go there to have fun. I have a great time on it, but I think it could be better. And if Elon Musk taking over is going to do that, like, and some of the ideas he's putting out there, I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds all good. But like, I just love all the, oh, this is the worst thing that's happened to me. And Fox News even like on their Twitter feed is like, one of their big news stories is that Whoopi Goldberg, is leaving Twitter because of Elon. Okay, first of all, that's not news. Who gives a shit? And it's like the fact that like Fox, it must be a slow news day if that's going to be your big news topic that you're going to put on your Twitter feed. Jesus Christ. It's like, that was today, by the way.
It's like, I mean, of all days, they're like, oh yeah, nothing's happening today, so we should really focus on Whoopi Goldberg.
Jesus fucking Christ! Like,
but, like some people, like I know people are under the illusion that Fox is run by like conservatives or whatever. Their entire like decision desk is comprised of liberals.
It's the same thing as, like we've always said, it's the same thing as CNN, MSNBC, or as Larry Elder calls it, MSNB hee-haw. It just.
Yeah. Although I'm particularly fond of MSDNC.
Yeah, that's a good one. That works too. But I just love hearing all the bitching and moaning and complaining that everyone's doing. It's just, I don't know. It brings I have a little bit of schadenfreude. I enjoy their suffering just a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we're only human. But yeah, it's just like these people who are constantly like, as they're leaving and they just keep turning back. It's like I'm really gonna leave, all right, because this is not okay. And it's like okay, and then like they start walking. It's like, because I'm not gonna stand for it. It's like I'm not gonna stand for this travesty. And it's like, okay, we got it. And it's like they just keep coming back, and it's like just go, all right, just go.
It's because they want attention. It's like when you fake leave my house, like to annoy my wife.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm not doing it for attention. I'm just doing it to annoy her.
Well, that's true. I think it's.
Because I'm doing it like the correct way, but but these people, they're completely doing it the wrong way, and they're just like, they're just seeking attention because it's like it's the death rattle. That's what it is. Because like, because they know that they hold no more power over the public consciousness anymore, and just like, and so this is like the only way that they can exert like whatever leverage they have, like whatever leverage that their name allows them to leverage.
I came so close to like quote tweeting one of them that says, "No one gives a shit. Go away."
I know, it's like you should. Yeah, like I mean, if I was on Twitter, I'd be just like, it's like, okay, then leave.
Yeah. Like, go the fuck away.
I know, like, shut the fuck up and just do.
But yeah, it's just fun. I love people crying and whining. It makes me happy.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why I titled this section "Looking Back in Anger," because it's like that's what they're doing. It's like, it's what Lot's wife did. Even though, when the angels of the Lord came and told Lot and his family to get out of Dodge, and then they gave him specific instructions. As the destruction is happening, do not look back. And what happened if those of you who aren't Bible scholars, Lot's wife looked back and she immediately turned into a pillar of salt.
It's like, or you just say, okay, go build your own Twitter.
Oh yeah, that was Elon's. Was it Elon? But it's like, just like all these people are getting fired. It's like, oh yeah, just build your own Twitter, or just learn to code. Like it's hard. Right? Like it's hard.
Like Jesus Christ, dude! It's just.
We got so Dark. Real quick, we got Dark Avenger in the chat. Andy, you fake leave? That's awesome. Laughing emoji. Yes, I do that. And it's so funny because you would think that she would learn, that I'm just like trying to get a rise out of her, but she always falls for the trap every single time
Every
without
time,
fail.
without fail.
You know, cause she'll try and like bluff me. He's like, okay, then leave, and like I'll actually like get out of my seat and like go like get my shoes, grab my things, and like she'll like beat on me and like no, don't go, and just like
It's
yeah.
like he's not gonna leave. We're still doing things, honey. Just
Yeah. That's right. Even though, yeah, like even like we're like doing like we're in the middle of doing something. I'm just like, okay, then fine, I'm leaving.
yeah, it's just she doesn't
Every
want.
time.
It's every damn time. It's so
Every
hilarious.
damn time.
But yeah, that's all I had to say about that. It was just something that I thought was I've been noticing all pretty much over the last couple weeks, but it's really amped up the last couple days. I think because people are getting all crazy because of the midterms and everything. So they're extra amped up about everything. This is the worst thing that's happened to me.
Really? Anyways, one thing I'd like to readdress, and that was from last week's stream, like the whole thing about like the COVID amnesty stuff, and I know I went like pretty hard, and I was saying like go fuck those people, and the sentiment still stands, um, but yeah, I mean I think I'm coming, I'm gonna walk it back just a little bit, and I'll say that that there can be forgiveness, but they are the ones who have to start with, I'm sorry for blank, because you can't just give out, forgiveness for nothing, and it's like, and if you don't like admit that, you did something wrong, then there can't be any forgiveness. It's like, what is there then to forgive? There can only be forgiveness if you admit to something. Like I could admit that, maybe I was judgmental of people, who wore masks, like, and like even outdoors, every once in a while I'd like roll my eyes or something at those people. So, okay, I apologize for that. But like, what exactly are you going to apologize for? And I think that's an important place to start. Um, because I forget what Bible verse it was. It was talking about like, and I know I mentioned like the whole like, how many times you have to, forgive your brother. But there's the other one, where it's like, oh, forgive as your Father in heaven has forgiven you, and so I could spiritually forgive these people, but if they want to reconcile with me, then they first have to come, with uh, with repentance.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's a difference between people who do have like what I was because of whatever fear that I had, I acted wrongly. And like if there is like a genuine remorse for what you've done and you're willing to make amends and like change your ways and like maybe moving forward act differently and accordingly, great. Then there's like then we can kind of like kind of build that bridge back back to what it was. But I do not believe in the people that the lady that wrote that article. No, I'm sorry. It's like people like her and the Dr. Fauci's and like some of the politicians and like the media pundits who ran amok, who still be like honestly yeah, oh whoopsie oopsie, we should have amnesty, we didn't know. Bullshit. You knew, and you didn't care, and you don't. And honestly, you're not actually sorry. You're just thinking that we're dumb enough that we're gonna like, oh yeah, I guess so. Well,
I know, and it's like those, and it's always they're always trying to tread upon, you know, more morally outstanding people. Because like
They deserve.
because they have no morality. So they constantly. God, what's that phrasing? Not, it's kind of like taking for granted. Um, but it's a specific phrasing. Um, they presume too much on our good nature. That's what it is.
Yeah,
And so
and it's like,
and it's a constant. But again, like if even if people like Fauci came out and said like, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I'm gonna make amends. I could forgive him, but I'm never forget what he did. There's no way I'm ever gonna let him fucking get near any position of power ever again.
honestly, like maybe you're a better man than me because I'd be like, yeah,
I know.
gonna
I
laugh.
mean, and I'm like, and I hate that I'm a better man, but because I want to be with you, Rob. Okay, I want to be with you, and I want to just fling the hate,
Be a Andy, just be
But
a bitter old crank like me. It's fun.
I know, but because again, my morals. I'm a better man. I can't.
Yeah,
It
I know,
really sucks being the better. It really sucks being the bigger man.
Andy.
I wish I could be there with you, Rob. I really do. Right? I just want to, sit in a lawn chair with an iced tea, with a handful of shit, just ready to fling. I really want to be
I
there.
thought we were here, Andy. I thought we were here.
We are. We are. I'm philosophically with you. All right. I'm philosophically with you. But like in practice, I have to be I have to be the bigger man. Not necessarily the better man, but I have to be the bigger man, and I have to, keep to my moral principles.
No, you're right. It's because like I said, I know people, within like, my circle of people that I know that are kind of, they went kind of COVID crazy and all that stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate them. It's just like because they get suckered by the news. They get and it's like, and even though like, that this is they don't the news is not what you think it is. The news is not there to inform you as like information comes in
Right? Yeah,
and
it's
like,
there to tell you what to be afraid of.
yeah, well, exactly. It's like they're drug dealers.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving you
Yeah,
a
their
drug,
drug of choice is fear and cortisol.
and it's like, and then like but if you stay tuned, maybe we'll have the solution. But they never do. They somehow keep this cycle of craziness going, and it's that's why like some of like the alternate news sites, like guys like Daily Wire or Louder with Crowder, or some of the stuff that you listen to, or so some of the guys that you and I both listen to, they're not pretending that like, yeah, we're biased, and like how some of it is it's both informative and it's also kind of like commenting on like some of the stuff that's going on. And but a lot of their commentary is based in fact. It's not it's not like just let's throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Um, Whereas the mainstream media is just like it's like this crazy 24-hour news cycle. It's like, well, we got to come up with something, so fuck, we're gonna do that. It's like, and there was a time like where even people who were more left center, more like lefty, kind of like, yeah, they're kind of crazy. Like I remember like one of my favorite comedians. Although he's gotten a little crazy, like Christopher Titus. I think he's hilarious. I've been to a lot of his stand up. He's funny. And there's one bit he had on like I don't know if you remember who like Nancy Grace was. She was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Well, she was. It's like where he was talking about like terrorists in our country. It's like Nancy Grace, fucking terrorist. It's like, yeah, I agree, because she's a fucking crazy person. It's just she is throwing fear out there. It's like, let's throw that to the wall and see if that sticks. And it's all bullshit. And like I said, but for whatever reason, people have just been driven crazy. And it's because they're overdosing on whatever it is the mainstream media is giving them.
I mean, I have different. Ultimately, it's, it's really a sin problem, because like these people aren't dealing with their sin,
Well,
and that's what, and that's why they're, that's why they're able to, and that's why they're so easily able to be, wound up, and like, and really terrorize. I mean, pardon the pun, but yeah, I mean, like they're, that's why they're able to, that's why they're like so full of fears, because they have not dealt with like their sin, and like, if they had properly dealt with their sin and like repented and all that, then like they wouldn't be afraid of any of this or any of the stuff that comes from the news, because they're like, okay, and like, well, what's the weather going to be tomorrow? I mean, but even now, like, I don't even trust. I mean, we never trusted the weather, but even they're right. So some of the times. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, they're not real. They're not tackling. They're not tackling or managing their sin well, and so that's why, that's why they're like so like pumped up. They're so easily pumped up with fear.
Yeah, I think that does sound just about right. But like I said, it's just people buy into it. It's kind of sad. It's sad to see, because kind of leading into like our next topic. It's the idea of like people who I know dearly, like they're really good people. They're nice people, but like they've really bought in on like a lot of the lies that are being peddled out there. Like, because they a lot of them tend to be more towards like our parents' generation, maybe like a little bit older, a little bit younger, or like, so you have like that group, and then you have like some of like the younger millennials that are like a little bit younger than us, who are just rabid leftists in a lot of ways, and like they watch CNN all the time. They probably think that Walter Cronkite was the greatest news journalist known to man, and it's like, no, it's none of that. None of that shit is true. It's like, but then like they they've bought into like that's the news. Like, they wouldn't lie about that stuff, and they've just bought into it. They've bought into
right,
it.
because because they are so, well, yeah, because like our parents' generation and maybe like some older Xers, they were, raised in a different time, and so like their thinking is like, how many people would have to be on it, be in on this to like make it work? It's like not as many as you might think.
Not as many as you might think. That's exactly right.
Because you think like, because they think like, you need like this huge conspiracy of people to get this done, but it's like, no, it's all you have to do is get like like 3 people saying the exact same things, and boom, you have everyone saying, repeating that thing that 3 people said.
Yeah, because we have this weird like credentialitis in this country.
We become too enthralled by like the quote unquote expert.
Oh, he has 3 PhDs. He must know what he's talking about.
Like, yeah, it's like, why would they lie? It's like, why would they not lie?
Or like, oh, he's a billionaire, and like, why would he, but he must be an expert in like everything. Like Bill Gates. Like, why would the fuck would anyone believe what Bill Gates has to say about anything?
Right, like why would we, like, he made his, like, I mean, people forget this, but he comes from money. Okay, Bill Gates comes from money, right? So him like dropping out of Harvard or whatever, it doesn't mean fucking shit. All right, because his daddy was rich. His daddy helped found Planned Parenthood. All right, that's the kind of money. That's the kind of money that Bill Gates coming from. All right, let's not kid ourselves. Like, oh, he was like this really nerdy kid that just built a PC in his garage. No, fuck that shit.
I'm not saying that he doesn't know a lot about computers. He probably does. I'm not saying
machine code or whatever, and like programming. Yeah, I'm sure he knows some stuff. But what does that make him qualified to talk about fucking vaccines?
No.
No,
But
obviously not.
If I'm looking to talk to somebody about computers, and I don't like, if I have a chance to talk to Bill Gates about computers, like, I'm gonna take his word for it because the guy knows his stuff.
Yeah, like maybe, and even him like coming up with like Windows or whatever. I'm not even 100% sure that was all him, right?
Oh, you think he's like Albert Einstein and just stole the patent from somebody?
Maybe, yeah, or like he could have it could be like a Jobs Wozniak thing where Jobs was like the marketer and Wozniak was the actual like technician.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you do kind of need like someone who can market stuff, but that doesn't make like. But he somehow became like the face of everything, which is like
true.
kind of
yeah. Like I know I know stuff about photography, but can I build a camera? No. Would you
No.
and like people come to me like asking me about like camera stuff, and I could and I can talk a little shop, but mostly it's like I don't know. I can tell you like what cameras I like, and like and what features of the camera that I like, but if you want me to tell me the difference between like a mirrorless and a DSLR, like the really like nitty gritty stuff about like the pixels and and like the processor and things like that, I'm just like checked out. It's like I don't know.
I think I've pissed off a lot of people about Albert Einstein, like, cause like, yeah, he like stole like a lot of patents, and like he also was like, didn't he like
he married his cousin twice?
Yeah, okay, that's what it was.
All right, yeah, his first wife was his cousin. Interestingly enough, on both sides of his family.
Oh, that's gross.
All right, yeah, and his first cousin on both sides of the family.
Like
both sides, his father and mother.
Yeah. Oh, gross.
Right, like, and then the fucked up thing is, he then divorced her and then gets with his his stepdaughter, the daughter of his cousin.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Oh God.
Yeah. That's why I said that he married his cousin twice.
Oh yeah, he pulled the Woody Allen then.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, but
I mean, like a little like not a Woody Allen. Like I would say that Woody Allen pulled a lesser Albert Einstein.
Yeah, that's I was like saying, but like a little Woody Allen was a little bit less gross than than Einstein. Oh God, that's gross.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, Einstein was grosser because that was like his actually like blood.
Ugh. Good Lord, gross.
But anyways. And it's like everyone says that Einstein is such a genius. It's like, oh, I did this thought experiment. It's like, so you made shit up. It's like, no. I did this thought experiment where I imagined myself going faster than light and then seeing like everything like slow down around me at as relativity. It's like that you just use your imagination. That's not doing an experiment. You just use your imagination.
Yeah. Someone talks about that, by the way.
I know. No one talks about it enough. All right, but Albert Einstein was a degenerate, fucking loser. All right, and like the whole thing, like, he was so smart that he didn't start talking until he was 5 years old. That's fucking developmentally, retarded. All right, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I know. I'm really going after that hate comment. Come on, I dare you.
I've gotten it already. People are like, no, that didn't happen with like Einstein. It's like, look it up.
Look it up. I know. You think I'm just saying? I'm saying it like in a very funny way, yes, but all of it is true. Like, go ahead, fact check me, bitch.
Actually, Winston Churchill said.
I know. Interestingly, I did get fact checked on something that that it wasn't even the right person.
Jesus Christ! That I'm just like, what the fuck is this? This is
I know.
So dumb.
It was a quote attributed to Ansel Adams, and for some reason there's like, no, Winston Churchill didn't say that about his enemies. It's like, what?
Ansel Adams and Winston Churchill are two different people. They didn't live in the same country.
Right? They did two separate things. One was a photographer. One was a leader of a country.
Sure, they lived like around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the fuck? Stupid.
Stupid. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, democracy is like supposedly democracy is on the line. I mean, if you heard like Obama's like last minute Hail Mary speech talking about like how logic and reason and democracy and science are on the line in this election, it's like aren't they? Aren't they always? Isn't democracy always on the line?
So I was like seeing like a lot. Well, I mean, I did more research in this, but like pretty much like everything that because he was campaigning a lot in California, and like pretty much everything, every person in proposition or like he backed. I was like, well, that's a pretty much sure fight that I'm not a sure bet I'm not going to vote for that. It's like what it's like it's
Yeah, no,
well,
yeah, this all the propositions I voted no on, like straight through, no on everything. And
yeah.
but particularly, especially Prop 1. That shit fucking better not pass.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, in California, they're trying to amend our constitution, allowing for abortions up until the moment of birth.
Hell no.
All right, and not like just passing a law. They're trying to change our fucking state constitution.
And then there was like a few like the representatives too that it's like we're backed by Planned Parenthood. It's like nope, I'm done. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I swear, like, because people don't. I don't know if people really look at their ballots. There's, it says like like you don't have to vote on everything.
Yeah,
and that's what I did. Even for like
everything.
yeah, like even for what was it the county supervisor or whatever. It was between like the like Hirschberg and I forget some bitch, but they're both backed by Planned Parenthood. So I was like, nope, not voting for either one of them.
Yeah, it's obvious at that point. It's like if especially if you believe it, if you are someone that does not want baby killers in office, like making legislation to that extent. Yeah, don't vote for those people. Don't vote for people that like.
Yeah, and like especially like don't do the I'm choosing the lesser of two evils. No, just don't choose evil. Don't choose evil.
Yeah, fuck those people. Honestly, hopefully nobody votes for them, and then they would just like I don't know what would happen at that point. Like if nobody votes for them.
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, in an ideal situation, yeah, I wish no one would vote for them, but some fool is gonna vote for them anyways.
Well, they probably voted for themselves.
Yeah. So. I mean, ideally, I hope that's what happens. Like, they go and count the vote. Like, they each get one. It's like, like, not even their family voted for them.
Who is it that like wasn't voting for them? Oh, wasn't it Gavin Newsom's family isn't voting for him?
For the supervisor?
Oh no! Who was it?
Oh yeah. It was Newsom. His in-laws. They gave money to Ron DeSantis.
Oh, that was so great.
Yeah, especially when he was like, first of all, I don't know why he was running attack ads in Florida, like Newsom was. I don't just get it.
Oh, dude, people down there were like laughing their ass off. I was like, "Are you fucking joking me?" Like, no, like everyone that I know that's like conservative down in Florida, they're like, "Fuck no, we're not coming back to California. Fuck you, Newsom. We left that state because we hated you."
Very much. Do you know like who the challenger was?
For Florida?
No, for California. Because news. Even though they weren't advertising it, he was up for because that was like that was one of the big criticisms from the left talking about like why'd you waste taxpayer money recalling this guy when he was just going to be up for re-election anyways this year. It's like, because fuck you, that's why.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's like, and I actually, to be honest, I had never heard of the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of do like some like last minute, like who is this person? Yeah. And just because, you don't hear anything about him. It's because it's a uniparty suppression. Like no one, you don't hear from them at all.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I kind of understand why Rick Caruso changed his party affiliation. But like, I don't like how he like was saying like, I can't side with or like the Republicans today don't match my values or whatever. It's like I wish he didn't do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Oh, this guy, like, because no one likes Karen Bass. Like, even like my friends who are Democrat, like, I mean, they are, left to, like, kind of more not leftist, but like they're definitely heavy left leaning. They're like, Karen Bass is a fucking piece of shit. We want her, but they're like, I don't know if I trust Caruso. It's kind of like, yeah, I could see like where people would feel that way, like, because that Caruso was not the guy I voted for, but we all knew he was going to win that part of the primary. It was going to happen.
Right. Yeah, like if what was it? Joe Bustino, he made it. If he won the primary, I would have been much happier.
Yeah.
Because not just because we know a guy who knows the guy, but just seeing like what he's been doing like during the primaries and like him actually going out into. I mean, not that I like Rick Caruso hasn't, because I know he's been in government before or like government positions, but like like because I followed Bustino like on on Instagram, and like I saw like he would go live and he would go out to like Venice, or he'd go out to all these like homeless hubs, and he was actually like boots on the ground, and like when I remember there was like a debate or whatever, and someone like rushed the stage. And all the other candidates kind of like drew back, which is completely natural. But he was the only one that like went up and like like tried to like put himself in between. I'm like, damn, that's what's up.
That's a real man right there.
Yeah, that's a leader,
Exactly.
And and I mean, and again, like, I mean, Rick Russo, like, and like, I wasn't able to substantiate, but there was this thing about like his like prior relationship with George Gascon that was very troublesome for me as well.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't able to like flesh that out or check any more information, but like I like supposedly like those two do have like some kind of relationship. But
so it's, but like at the same time, like it's I definitely couldn't vote for Karen Bass. It just,
oh no, obviously not.
Good Lord, no. Yeah, that was definitely like a little. That was much more of a, that almost became like, am I gonna vote on this one or not? Like it really, it's not like I'm gonna vote for Karen Bass, but I was like, should I even vote for Caruso? Like, because it's like he's not the guy I want, and I'm not. There's things that I was like really like. It took me a second to think about that. Like, I was like, am I gonna vote for this guy or like,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it was for me and Trump in 2016 or 15. I was just like, I really don't want Hillary in. So it's just like, it wasn't like necessarily a vote for Trump. It was a vote against Hillary.
Yeah, I mean, and that felt more satisfying to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so like, I mean, like, and again, I'm coming out with it. I voted for Caruso, but it's not that because I'm so like won over by Caruso. It's like I want to make sure. I want to make sure that Karen Bass doesn't get in.
Yeah, that was my thing too. Where it's like, it was something I wasn't just like, oh, Rick Caruso. It wasn't one of those like, it was like a no brainer. It was like, fuck, it's like, can I even vote on this, like, this part of the election? Because I think I kind of like you, I felt pretty confident with a lot of the no's on the propositions, because I've seen like all the fucking ads for them, and like I said, like I was talking about like a few weeks earlier, it's like, pay attention to who is funding these things and look at those organizations, and usually from there you can kind of tell like, oh, this is like an organization that is trying, has like I mean, they all have an agenda obviously, but what is the agenda? And if the agenda is like what you want to vote for, then vote for like what they're saying, like what is yes or no on something. Most often I was wanting to vote no on everything because they're all horrible. And it's like, we're in a state and a country that is completely broke. I mean, we have no money, but but you want to keep spending more money with government programs and
Right,
we
and
need
like and a lot of the and a lot of like the measures or whatever, they're like, what was it, like Measure A or something? It was like they were saying that they want to empower like the local legislature to be able to fire the elected sheriff, the elected sheriff.
It's like no,
It's like,
that's
no, fuckers.
once again, that's an elected position. You have to go through the proper procedures to remove an elected official.
Exactly.
Just like you have to do
Yeah,
with the
just like
government.
just as if like they try to pass a measure saying that the mayor can fire one of y'all, one of the supervisors, or one of the city council members, an elected position, an elected official, an elected official.
Yeah, that's not how that works. That goes against like not only the federal constitution but like the state constitution.
I know. I mean, not. I mean, and I know that Rich, coming from us who totally jacked up our electoral system by having like jungle primaries and basically like whoever gets the second and first and second most votes, they get put on the ballot. And that's how you get like all Democrats on a ballot.
That God, that happened well before we could even vote or had a chance to like have anything to do with that. That's
Right.
the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like now it's like unfortunately I think that tube is out of the toothpaste. I don't think we'll ever get that back.
We're not getting that back unless like a miracle. I mean, again, this is like we're talking a miracle of biblical proportions.
There has to be an uproar of so many Californians, which honestly I think if you separated out, if you took out San Francisco and Los Angeles and like made that like a state, just those two cities, the California East or whatever the hell you would call it, like that would be a red state.
Oh yeah. If you took out like the major metropolitan
it's
parts.
The same thing with like if you separated New York City from New York State, same thing.
Yeah.
You're
red all over that state.
Yeah. So if they want to make DC and Puerto Rico and Guam a state, like okay, well then you separate off New York City and San Francisco,
LA, San Francisco, basically all the coastal cities.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure with if you took Portland out of Oregon or made it its own state, then the rest of Oregon would be red.
Seattle too.
Yeah, Seattle. Yeah, Washington State also.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like it's all the major power metropolitan centers.
Yeah, I'll take that deal. You can have your dumb states. We'll take our own.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of and there was a movement back in like I think for a while, but the one I can remember from being a kid, like the San Fernando Valley, they wanted to break off from LA County and like be their own.
I heard that like San Bernardino County was like wanting to break off like recently too.
I thought they were. Although they are kind of, I thought they were more like I thought they were an unincorporated part.
Maybe they are, but like I heard something
because I have heard it being referred to as San Bernardino County.
Yeah, like I wasn't sure if that's what they were trying to go for. That's like what they are now, or something along those lines. Like because they were wanting to break off, or they did break off. But it makes sense. Like I wouldn't want to be attached with Los Angeles right now.
Yeah, but I mean, no way LA would have, or LA City wouldn't have allowed us to break away.
Of course.
Because the San Fernando Valley is where they get all the property taxes.
That's what Chinatown's all about.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
A conspiracy, by the way.
Yeah, another conspiracy. Yeah, people think like conspiracies are like completely, out of nowhere. It's like no, it's like,
a handful of people.
All it takes for a conspiracy is two people. All right, that's it. Two people.
That's pretty much what it was. It was only a handful of people that were behind that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a fucked up movie too.
Yeah,
It
it's a
just
fucked up
really is.
movie.
But
Yeah, like
yeah,
yeah, especially like yeah, all the propositions and or like measures that were like, yeah, we want to start, we want to tax this or we want to increase that the tax of this. I was like, fuck no. All right, you can't you can't do shit with the money that we already give you. What makes you think that getting more money is gonna change anything?
we just need like $2 more billion out of
Yeah, two
taxes,
more
and then
billion
it'll
dollars.
be gangbusters.
Yeah, I mean, I was so like, it was even though I voted no on everything, it was like it was very principled. Like even for like there was like a tax like on marijuana or something. I was just like, no, no, no
Yeah,
more.
no,
Yeah, like cannabis like dispensaries or whatever they wanted to like tax something. I was just like, no, no more, no.
honestly, I would say not because I want our state to fail, but I want the policies and the people that are in power in our state to fail because they all suck for the
Yeah,
most part. Yeah, like there's a handful of good people. I'm not saying like 100%. Um, but like God, there's so many bad, and it's like I just want all of their ideas and policies to fail. I want them to fail, and I want everything to be like dumped right at their feet, all their failure right there, so that everyone remembers like, yeah, you fucking suck,
hmm
and we don't want you in power anymore. Go away, and they never and they go away. That's what I want.
yeah. I mean, if anything, I've been really happy that Eric Garcetti hasn't been like showing his smug face like on TV.
Oh, so I hate him so
I
much.
know.
He's such a I mean, he's not as bad as Newsom, but he's just this smug
Yeah, he's
prick.
just smug and smarmy as Newsom. Uh, but yeah, like I'm just glad like when he was like being like ever since like he was like being considered for the ambassador role for India, like he just like shut up. He's like, no more. Like I'm not gonna make any more announcements about
Wait,
COVID or lockdowns or
nope.
whatever. He's like, mm-mm.
All that shit went away when he was when that was coming up
Mm-hmm.
because he's gonna get more money and he's gonna sit and do nothing in some like cush palace.
Yeah, in India. So it's like what the fuck does he care?
Exactly. That's all they want to do. They want to sit there, collect a taxpayer paycheck, never work a day in their life, and retire with a golden parachute like Dr. Fauci.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean what big diplomatic thing do we have to work out with India?
Yeah, like not too much, honestly. Like other than like maybe uh I mean there is some stuff going on like around that country now with definitely all like Pakistan and China and stuff like that, like maybe trying to help them out a little bit more, but
Right. Yeah. India is definitely cozying up more to Russia and China, and they're like creating like this new like Eastern coalition to rival the West.
yeah. But that thing going on with like them in Pakistan, that's been going on since the fucking like 30s and 40s. I mean, that's been
Yeah.
going on
Since
forever.
forever. Yeah. Since forever.
It's like it's one of those things that like we don't know anything about it, and it's kind of like all these same diplomats is like, oh, we need a two-state solution with Israel, and it's like that's how we're gonna figure everything out, and they've been like busting their brains against the fucking wall for 20 years, and then Trump's like, yeah, well, fuck that, we're gonna do this, and then it worked. And it's like it's gonna be the same thing with over there in India. It's like stop doing all the same dumb shit before.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on like because Pakistan's kind of a shithole,
Mm-hmm.
just like a lot of those countries over there.
Right.
India has become a lot better. It's becoming a little bit more of a wealthy country.
Right.
Some of like
And it's because it's due in part to their population. Because on average, the average age of a Indian person is like in their mid-20s.
yeah, it's a burgeoning population.
Yeah,
They're
and that's why. Yeah,
smart.
and that's why. Yeah, that's why. That's why countries with older demographics are doing so shit now. I mean, look at the U.S. The average age of someone in the U.S. is like in their 60s. The average.
That's horrible.
Yeah. And so yeah, no one wants to invest in something that's old. Like I mean, that's just the way it is. And so that's why like China. That's why China's economy has exploded like so much. I mean, yeah, I know that they're having a bit of a demographic problem too, but what is it? They're actually going back to like more traditional uh, societal norms.
Yeah,
Like like much more concentrated on the family and looking after elders and things like that.
There's no guys hacking off their cocks or women cutting off their breasts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're returning to like traditional views of masculinity. Like what was it? Like G like even made it like no guys with earrings on TV allowed. Like even just like that simple thing.
To be honest, like I'm not against that.
Yeah. Oh, we got Heidelberg in the chat. He said, "What's up, boys?"
Oh, what's going on, buddy? You're up late.
I know, right? I know, because those of you who don't know, Heidelberg's in the East Coast.
Yeah, both him and like Dark Avenger, which is Dave, like they're both on the they're all so they're staying up late. Listen to us, man. That's crazy.
I know.
We're just here talking mad shit, Heidelberg. That's all. That's what we do.
That's pretty much what we do. I mean, we just call out shit.
But that's all I had to really say. Like, it's just, when it comes to like our election stuff, like it was just kind of there was some tough like, am I gonna vote for vote in this like part of the election or not? And then it's like we'll see what comes of it. California is especially the San Fernando Valley and like Los Angeles in general is kind of a tough place for.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I mean, I know LA is like blue, but I would say that the San Fernando Valley is more purple.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
we get guys like what's his face, John Lee. He's not bad. Like I think he's a genuinely nice guy, but like it's kind of tough like for a guy like him to make like a bunch of changes and stuff like that. But he seems like a genuinely nice guy. Mm-hmm. I think he does have a vision for like what he would like the valley to be. Mm-hmm. I was at that event with Eric. Mm-hmm. Was it a couple weeks ago? Mm-hmm. And yeah, like John Lee, was there, and he talked for a little while. I was like, yeah, he, like I said, I think he does care about like what the valley's doing and like its health. Mm-hmm. He thinks, like I said, he seems like a genuinely nice guy. Mm-hmm. I shook his hand.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I got to be, I was in the room with him.
He's your guy, right? He's in your district.
He's my district. Yeah, he's my district.
Yeah, I work in his district.
yeah, and I live in his district. And I got to be in a room with him. But yeah, he's definitely genuine, and he's definitely trying his best to do right for the people in his constituency and stuff like that. So yeah, nothing really, no real like. Nothing bad I can really say about him. Because I realized like he's he's fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
And sometimes, sometimes he's the lone voice, and so I know it's got to be hard.
It really
he has my sympathies.
But like I said, I love all the people online who are whining and crying, and it's like, oh, it's the worst though. Yeah. Like they're rendering their garments, and it's just like, oh my God, just shut up, just shut up. Yeah, it's okay. Like it's if you don't get your way, it's gonna be fine. There's gonna come a point where your way is gonna come right back. That's just the way that our political system works. All right.
It's in a lot of ways cyclical. Because the lefties are going to get in, control, and they're gonna. I mean, but I would dare say it's a little different because now that they have like uh, other power centers like media and academia and things like that. It's a little bit different, but yeah, I mean it's gonna be a cycle because like eventually the school systems are gonna higher learning that's gonna collapse, and that's gonna be completely hollowed out. And whoever builds the next thing is gonna be in control, and I do hope it's someone with more reason and discipline.
It's funny. I was listening to something. You know, was I think it was the other day. 'Cause, kind of, and it kind of goes back to a few weeks ago when we were talking about like all the student debt stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and how people on our side is like I think they have the wrong message. Like it's they should just learn to pay like their debts. Like it's like, well, okay, you have to remember that that they are from like the day you start school, from like elementary school on, you're peer pressured not only from you know the people you go to school with, but like your teachers and everything. Like it's obviously like everyone like wants you to go to college. It's almost like if you don't go to college, you're considered kind of a loser. Um, and I'm like I said, when it comes to certain fields, like obviously like like all the STEM stuff, you do need like a little bit of extra learning in
Yeah,
those
you need,
fields.
you need more specified instruction or
Um,
training.
and I think like and there are like into I don't think college is completely useless. I mean, especially if you're willing to pay for it and you have the money to pay for it, you have the money to be able to pay off whatever loans you take, and you're like, yeah, I want to study history more. I want to study literature, whatever. Hey, that's fine. Like, go for it. I think that's a good thing. Um, but like, the people who are, I'm gonna study this, but then like there's no real necessarily a payoff at the end of that. Like, you end up with a degree that you can't really use, so you end up like doing another job. You get a job because you have like whatever your bachelor's is, but you're not really doing the thing that you studied for 4 years, 4 or 5 years at. And then you have this giant debt because you went to like a really prestigious school, but the job that you have or the jobs that you can attain don't exactly, you're going to be paying off that debt for a good majority of your life. So you're it that's where I think like the breakdown is. It's like, well, why don't we should focus on like what can we do to break down that, like why is it that in the last 50 years, like going back to like our parents generation, when they were able to pay for school pretty much out of their pocket, like they could work and go to school and be able to pay for it. Why has it changed from that to today, where like there's no way that you could do that.
Exactly. That's been my like that's been my argument for like the longest because yeah, it's like these people say like oh like well they decided to take the debt, they decided to take the loans. It's like yeah, but it's like saying it's like rubbing the nose into someone who kills himself like as you're cheerleading them on to kill themselves. It's like yeah, it's like kill yourself. It's like yeah, you can do it. Go, do it. And then they kill themselves. Like man, like I don't know why they killed themselves.
I was gonna I was gonna say it's like chastising the bullied kid who gives up his lunch money to the bully. It's
Yeah, I mean, it's like because it's completely disingenuous when people say like, oh well, they didn't have to take the debt. It's like yeah, like how you were saying, like since you get into like kindergarten, you're constantly bombarded with the idea that you have to go to college, or if you don't go to college, then you'll be wasting your life at some remedial like job flipping burgers or whatever. I mean, well nowadays it's becoming a barista, but
yeah.
it's just like yeah, and so it's like it's constantly drilled into your head that if you have to go to college. It's not like you think about going to college. You have to go to college. And then they say like, oh well, like we were able, and then again like they disingenuous argument about like, oh, like, well, we went to, when we were able to go to college and we were able to, get a part-time job and pay for it. It's like, that's not how it is anymore. The bloated bureaucracy of like these universities makes it impossible for anyone to go get a higher education by just, and doing it by getting like a part-time job. Because like, yeah, people forget like 30, 40 years ago, you could have gone to Harvard and you could have paid your tuition by just having a summer job.
Like what's it like Will Hunting and like Good Will Hunting, like he was at MIT like as a janitor, and then he like well, I mean, he wasn't like necessarily a student there, but like it's kind of like the same idea. Like, or in the case of with Malcolm in the Middle, at the end of that series, like he
Right, yeah, he
goes
was in college, but he still worked
as like a janitor. It's which it that's just not possible anymore. That there was a time where that was possible.
Exactly. And so yeah, it's like people on the right or Republicans or conservatives, they're missing the point of the, like, when you say like, oh, well, you decide to take the vote, you're blaming the victim. All right, yeah. Just like how and to give them credit this one time, it's like they're right. The people on the left are right about the uncaring, unfeeling, Republicans or or conservatives or whatever. Like, they're right because they're saying like, oh, like, you chose, like, in like the they make the comparison with the PPP loans. It's like, oh, well, that loan was never meant to be paid off. It's like so why is it, so you're saying that you made it okay for this loan not to be paid off, but student loans you can never default on. You can never declare bankruptcy. That is a millstone that is attached to your neck for the rest of your fucking life.
It will follow you to the grave, and then it'll be stuck in your family afterwards.
Exactly.
Hope you don't have any like freaking relatives, because that's gonna get stuck on them.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the eternal loan, right? Because it doesn't die with you.
We listened to that former slave, like who was talking about how like he wouldn't even, like, if he couldn't pay for something, he just wouldn't get it, because when you buy something on credit, like you are now in debt. That's slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I will never be a slave again.
Yeah, it's kind of like even with Owen Benjamin, he was talking about how early like even when he moved out of LA and like started his homestead or whatever, like his credit score was like in the 800s, right? But then but since he decided to live a harder life and do everything by not getting into debt, and he's more or less been successful at it, his credit score has dropped because he's no longer in debt.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that works.
Right? Yeah, so it's like people think like, oh, like if your credit score is low, then that's bad. It's like, no, that's a good thing. That's saying that you're not in debt.
Yeah.
Like the debt score, your credit score, that's just letting all of like the slave owners know, like, oh, this guy can pay his bills.
Yeah. I mean, because that's kind of like where
it's basically saying, it's telling all the slave owners, the slave masters, like, oh, this is a good slave.
That's, I mean, right now we're kind of like a little bit in that spot right now, but just because my wife wanted a few things, so I was like, all right, fine. But it's I would have rather if we could have just like afforded, waited until we could officially afford it and just pay it off. But like if you want right now, like the way, like if you want to buy a house, you have to have a certain credit score and stuff like that. So it's just like, fuck, it's kind of like this really fucked up system that you have to kind of work in. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, only if you want it done quickly. Because like if you wanted to, you could buy property, like undeveloped property, and then just slowly build it up.
True.
And then that's, in that way, you only pay for things like when you can actually pay for them. So like if you want to build a house, then you wait and you just like you live in a trailer, until you scrounge up enough money so you can actually like build your house.
Like Minari.
I still haven't seen that movie. But
It's good, dude.
I'm gonna say yes, just judging by the context. But yeah, I mean, there are ways around it. It's just a lot harder, and it takes way more discipline than I think people ready or capable of.
Yeah, but like I said, I would really like to see, because I don't think that like going to college is necessarily a waste of time. Like I don't think that advanced studies in certain things, like even if it's something like frivolous, like you could consider like what my degree, my schooling was frivolous, but like I paid for it. I like what I went to. I went and studied theology and like shit for 4 years, and I loved it. um I mean, I took, was it 2 years of Greek, 2 years of Hebrew, a year of Aramaic. I studied theology. I studied, history. I studied a whole bunch of stuff, and I loved every second of it. Uh,
Right. Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's not a
I
degree.
would say my education was a waste of money, but it did open me up to learning different skills, which allowed us to even do this podcast and live stream. So
Yeah, well, yeah. It's well, and then the other thing too is just that, like I said, I'm not utilizing what I paid for. Obviously, I'm doing something completely different, but I regret nothing. And I mean, I don't have any school debt. I paid for everything. And I kind of rebelled too, because I was like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. It's like, and everyone's like, oh, you're gonna go to this college, you're gonna go. It's like, no, I'm not gonna do any of that. I'm gonna join the military. And I did that just to piss people off, just because I could, because I'm an asshole. So that's why. And then I did that for 4 years, and and then because I'm too much of a loudmouth, smart mouth, I couldn't kiss ass, so I left the military, and I kind of finished up with my school, and I I was at another job. It wasn't really going to go anywhere, but I kind of wasn't really sure what I was going to do, and that went away, and now I'm in a job that it's not exactly what I expected, but I like it. It's not, some of the days are not easy. It's not an easy job by any means, but
mhm,
I am building a career, albeit very slowly.
mhm,
And you know what? It's helping me to, I'm married now. It's helping me to take care of my wife and give her some of the things that she needs. And for that, like, I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Like, and there's more places to go, but I'm, like I said, I want to create a better system for, like, if and whenever I have kids, because I don't want them to have to deal with this. And if they do end up going down, that hole, is like, I'm not going to push them towards college. It's like, I think you should go to a trade school, like, yeah, because there's all these jobs out there that nobody wants to take, that they can't fill, and you're going to get paid a ton of money to do them. I mean, they're tough jobs. Don't get me wrong. Like, working on, like, being like an electrical engineer, or like, working on like electrical work, doing AC and heat and AC, doing plumbing, all that
mhm.
stuff. Like, it's
Yeah,
not an
doing
easy job.
electrical. Yeah.
I don't even want to, like, I there's a few things I can do around the house. Electrical is not one of them. I don't fuck with that stuff. It's like, that's just so above my mind's, like, my mind. I'm like, just call the electrician. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
I'm not gonna electrocute myself to death, just to save like $10.
Mm.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. No, my dad, he's been like trying to fix the shower for like since we like moved in here like over 10 years ago. And just like for some like because for what like for some reason like the shower like it's like a stand up shower, and like it's like the hot and cold, and in the middle like you turn it, and like and it the water flows from the top. For a while the water was like, even when you turned it so it comes out of the shower head, water was still a lot of water actually was still coming out from the bottom. And so then he went and fixed it, but he didn't really quite fix it, and it's just like, and it's like, and it's so like when you turn on the water, it comes out of both sides. But when you both ends,
Yeah.
at similar rates, and then when you flip the handle over so it comes out of the shower head, more water comes out of there and less water comes out of the bottom. And so yes, he technically fixed it, but it's like he created like another problem.
Yeah, it's like, but did you really fix
Yeah,
it?
but did
Yes.
you really fix it? And don't get me wrong, my dad's very handy, and he knows, like, he spent a lot of his early life here in America, like doing that kind of work, like kind of like general contracting and plumbing and things like that. But it's like it's like at a certain point, just hire somebody,
Yeah. Well, it was
and it's like, and so it's like, yeah, and so it's like. So yeah, there's like all these jobs that no one is doing because like they don't know that they exist, or they don't realize how much money they'll get paid for it.
yeah, that was one of the things. Like my dad he doesn't do it as much anymore because he's getting older, but like he is one of like the handiest guys I know. Like I remember helping him rebuild or from the ground up, his a motorcycle. We kind of restored and rebuilt this motorcycle. I helped him with building up, kind of restoring like the kitchen, and he did all that work. Like he cut all the wood, he did all that stuff. Like he measured everything out, and everything was honestly, it's like it was probably done better than what you would have gotten at like having some contractor do it. Like he was that good. But then it was like he was one of the things like, you know what I don't fuck with? I don't fuck with the electrical work. Hire a professional to do the electrical. Right. It's just because that's just a whole nother animal. But yeah, it's just kind of those jobs. You're working with your hands is not necessarily like, it's not people like, oh, you're in this type of job, like it's like, man, like you could do so much more. It's like, am I a guy that uses my mind a lot? Absolutely, obviously I do, but I do work with my hands a lot. And some people probably look at me and my job and it's like, man, what a waste. But for me, it's like I put food on the table for me and my wife. I pay our bills. We're not like, we're not rich by any means, but we're not out on the street. And she went to a trade school. She's a massage therapist now. She's doing that stuff, and she can take like 3 or 4 clients, and she's making pretty much the same amount of money that she would make at like whatever she was doing before. Like whether she and with her condition, it's like she's doing what she wants to do, and she's not putting so much strain on her body. And does that mean like do we have to cut back on a few things? Sure, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, and until like I end up moving somewhere or doing something different. But like I have no shame in what I do from day to day. I take a lot of pride. I think that God has taken care of me quite well, and I'm able to take care of my family. Sure, there's like are there a lot of things like little extras that I would like to get? Sure, I'd love to have a brand new computer. I'd love to have a brand new laptop. I'd love to have brand new equipment to do like some extra podcasting with. I'd love to have because I've been trying to build up my physical media on movies and games. I'd love to get some more of that stuff, but I'm very blessed and happy to be where I'm at, and I just want to create a world where we don't have to put our children in a like 3-figure debt just because they want to become a lawyer or a doctor or a whatever the hell they want to do. Maybe they want to be a teacher. I'm not saying that being a teacher is a bad thing. I think there's a lot of great teachers out there. I had a lot of great teachers, and Yeah, and I think it's a noble profession, but I don't think that that person should have to put themselves in, this incredible amount of debt because they have to get a lot of advanced degrees that honestly, like, they're probably never going to be able to pay off, or at least not for a while. And it's a damn shame. And so we have to figure out, like, I don't know, we have to figure out what changed from, like, within the last 50 years, but we got to fix that. And because just canceling a certain amount of debt, like, as nice as that is like, as good as that might be, that's not gonna, that's putting a band-aid on a problem. We have to get at the actual cut. We have to create, like, we have to put stitches on it. We have to fix it. Otherwise, we're gonna bleed to death.
Right. And and one of the things that a lot of people like, what is it? A lot of people like miss, like, in like the messaging. It's like they're like, oh well, they're gonna tax us. It's like, well, don't we have a say in like what taxes get passed? Like, why don't we just why don't we just agree that there won't be any new taxes? Or yeah, like after a forgiveness period, then Congress is not allowed to institute taxes for like 8 years. No new taxes, anyways.
Yeah, it's
because I know, like, people say, oh well, I paid off my thing. Why should I have to pay for it? Who's paying? Like, who says you're paying for it? It's like, oh well, my taxes. Okay, like, we'll make sure that no new taxes get passed. Now what?
But see, that's hard because then you have to become more diligent in, like, how you're voting and paying attention to what your representatives are doing, paying attention to what the city council is doing, paying attention to who your school board people are, who your whatchamacallit is. It's like, yeah, that's hard work.
Exactly.
That's the responsibility of being a citizen of this country.
There you go. And again, and in a way, it's still kind of like, people not, learning to, not deal to deal with their sin, essentially, because, like, it's like, oh, we'll just get someone else to deal with it. It's like, no, why don't you deal with it?
Yeah, and it's like, and people on the right and the left would probably hate us both, and that's fine. It's
I know. It's like, damn it! It's like, damn it! Like, I agree about the forgiveness, but I hate about, like, the responsibilities. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, that's like a left person. And a right person is like, it's like, damn it! I like the responsibility, but I hate the forgiveness.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like, there's so many times I feel like I'm a man without a country in a lot of ways, because
no, that's
they don't belong anywhere.
You have slowly but surely you have to get away from this left-right paradigm stuff. Like, am I saying that I love lefties? No. Am I saying that I hate like Republican conservatives? No, I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is I'm done with, like, I'm done with the categorization.
Yeah, and same thing with, like, how there's a lot of times where, like, I've talked about this with, like, in my my spiritual life too, where I didn't grow up at church, right? I became a Christian much later in life. So in a lot of ways, like, now I'm not of the world anymore. Like, I have my own, but I understand, people that are coming from that arena. It's like, because I came from there, and it's like, where, like, I believe in a lot of the stuff that's going on at church for the most part, but then I almost sometimes feel like I don't belong there either. You know what I'm saying? Where, and that's kind of like come about in just the way, like, as I've done a lot of Bible teaching at church, where I don't think people are very comfortable with, like, when I'm trying to teach people, like, kind of forcing people for them to think for themselves, like, it because it comes down to, like, you have the responsibility as a Christian to understand why you believe what you do, and to be able to share that with people who ask. And it's not about like what the pastor's saying, or what like the denomination saying, or that particular church is saying. Why do you believe it? And you have to be able to share that competently, because why would anyone believe if you don't know why you believe?
Right. It's
And
like, it'd be, it's, I mean,
that makes
in a lower kind of sense, it's like a man trying to convince a woman to go out with him.
Exactly.
It's why should you just assume that, the woman, or, whatever, or like in this case, why should you just assume that the woman would go out with you? Like you should have like a compelling reason why the woman should go out with you.
See, you need to be more like Slick from Prom Night, and a lot less like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character from 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
It's just, and like I said, even like, I don't, like I said,
otherwise you just become a rapist.
Well, there is that. No, Andy, I don't think we should become rapists, okay?
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm just saying, like, kind of like, I mean, yeah, because if you don't have a good argument and you just like kind of like, oh, just go out with me, it's like you're essentially becoming a rapist.
That's like, hey, Slick was, punching way above his weight, but damn, like, it's like, I was like, damn, dude, I want to go out with you. Like, you're so confident.
Yeah, right, because he had the confidence, and like, he knew what he was bringing to the table.
They said he is Artie Ziff.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a better Artie Ziff.
Yeah, he was a good Artie.
And Artie Ziff is a worse Slick.
But yeah, it's just.
Anyways, we digress, but.
Yeah, but whatever wherever you line up, you have a responsibility. That's fine. It's if you don't like something, we do have the ability to. We have a vote. We have the responsibility to pay attention to what our representatives are doing that we voted in. If we don't like what they're doing, we have the ability to vote them out, and we have, sometimes that might mean we have to, speak our mind. We might have to share on social media. We might have to campaign in some cases. We might have to glad hand. We might actually have to do something. It's kind of if you ever want to change,
the time of complaining is over. All right, it's time to do.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, going back to our first discussion with Twitter, and with this, I'm so tired of all the bitching and whining and complaining. If you're not like voting on stuff, or you're not like really active on stuff, and you're bitching about something that you heard, it's like, I don't care. Like, I really, like, your opinion does not matter to me. You have nothing to complain about. Now, if like you're actively involved and you don't like what's going on, and like you actually are someone that is active, okay, I might not like what you have to say, but at least like you're doing something, at least to your belief system. So I can respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, on both sides, I'm so tired of just all the fucking complaining and like people not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we talk about this shit every week. We vote. We like we take our time thinking about like what we're actually like. No, we don't want this. We don't want that. Oh man, this is we don't. I don't know anything about this race. I'm not going to vote for that. Like, it's there's not a lot of information. Like, maybe like on the next time around, I'm gonna try to learn more about. Like, I didn't, like, I was at a few years ago when like I didn't know like the school, like some of the college school board stuff. That I didn't know that was a voted position.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's like,
even this year, like when like for the school board, like I didn't know any of them. I didn't, and it was like, and
it's hard.
there and there's very little information about them, so it's like I didn't vote for them.
Unless
And similarly with the judges too. Like I didn't know who these people were, and like there again, very little information, if any, to be found. And so I was like, I'm not voting for these people.
yeah, and like
Like
I
any
honestly
person.
I actively searched. I actively searched, and there's nothing about these people anywhere,
Yeah, and
which
so
was
it was
kind
like,
of crazy.
oh, and people like might complain, say, oh, well, you're throwing your vote away. It's like,
No, you're not.
no, I'm not. That's about not voting for or not voting for anyone is still a valid choice.
That's how you get like Jesse Ventura.
Or in my case, that's how you get a George Gascon.
Yeah.
And I own that shit. All right, I own that shit.
Dude, nobody likes that dude.
Nobody likes that guy. All right, he's
Leftists
like
hate him.
the fuck that lady that got run over by the Prius. That fucking guy was out the very like in 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
All right, nobody likes this guy. All right, nobody. And I'm amazed. I mean, given where we live, like I'm amazed that the recall did not go through.
All of a sudden, the signatures were super important.
I know, right? The signatures were super important, guys. Like super serially. All right, they were super serially important, and they had to make sure that each one was like the person that they said they were.
Exactly.
Just this one time.
But that's all I got to say about that. Like, whatever happens, it's, you know what, we'll get through it. There'll either be good times or there'll be bad times, but however it works out, you know what? I think outside of like stuff that's happening in this state, like my life's pretty much not going to change much. I mean, that's pretty much how I've operated most of the time, and I've been right for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? I was with a friend today, and I was, with it, and then his dad was there, and like and his dad is kind of plugged in, and he's like kind of conservative leaning, and he asked me about like, oh, like what do you think is gonna happen today? And I just looked at him and I said, it's like God's will is gonna be done. And he's like, no,
Yeah.
but it's like, but who do you think is like gonna win or da da da? I was like,
Who cares?
like it doesn't really matter. It's like God's will is gonna be done. Like regardless, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if you voted or didn't vote. God's will is gonna be done.
Don't worry. Is even like the people who we don't like. Guess what? They're not the Antichrist. They're not this. It's like it's not. It's just it's gonna be fine.
I mean, and paradoxically, they still serve God because like even like in I think it was Romans, like how Paul writes like, oh yeah, uh, though like Caesar, like those in governmental power, they are avengers of God. They are the one God granted to hold the sword. So and they are and they are God's avengers. And
Exactly.
So yeah, so God's will is gonna be done. I mean, would it be better if those in the civil magistrate were Christians? Yeah, of course. But then that doesn't absolve them of their duty as avengers, as those commissioned to hold the swords. So
exactly.
So yeah,
Works for me.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what it doesn't matter. It does. Yeah, I mean, we voted, okay, but ultimately, God's will is going to be done.
Exactly.
And I'm okay with that.
But yeah, let's talk about something more fun. Let's talk about some degenerate gamblers.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, although I just heard I just saw as I was passing by a 7-Eleven on my way home that the Powerball number changed. So I think somebody won the really big jackpot of $1 billion.
It was like the what was it? The drawing was like postponed till like today, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was postponed, but like it was just like it's a pretty big Powerball.
Yeah, $1 billion. Okay.
Well, hopefully it changes someone's life for the best.
Yes.
That's the way I look at it. It's like, hey, if you win that, like, hey man, that's great.
Hmm.
Good for you. Hopefully you make whatever you come from like rags to riches, and it makes your life better, and you make good choices, and I, I'm super happy for
Yeah,
those
actually,
people.
yeah. The only thing I can hope is that they don't succumb to the lotto curse.
Yeah, it's honestly like I was always thinking about that. If I ever did win the lottery,
Hmm.
I really don't think my life would change. I think I would still work. I would still, I mean, I would obviously like probably pay off all my debts.
Hmm.
I'd probably buy a modest house. I'm not gonna buy like some giant mansion because I'm not an insane person. But I'd buy like a nice house,
Hmm.
modest house, uh, and I maybe buy some new cars and then the rest of it, part of it I'd probably give to charity, and then the rest of it I just put in savings, and just live my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'm.
'Cause
I don't think a great deal of my life would change either.
yeah, it's like nothing would really change that much. But like I said, I know how it's like it does. Some people just go nuts, and it's kind of like where they can't help themselves. Like, oh yeah, shit, I'm gonna
Right.
buy this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy,
Yeah. It's
and
like,
like,
yeah. If you can't manage, $10, then you're not going to be able to manage $10 million.
yeah. And I would tell my parents like to retire,
Oh yeah, of course.
and I would pay off the rest of their house, or if they wanted to
Whatever
move somewhere,
mortgage or whatever. Mhm.
yeah, that's what I would do, because my parents deserve that.
Yeah. I mean, plus you're the only kid, so
Exactly.
yeah.
And
I
so
mean,
like,
I could just you shift shift the responsibility to one of my older sisters, but.
yeah, exactly. You're like the last in line to have to deal with that shit.
Yeah, I know. Even though I am the only son, and
There,
I have other
I
responsibilities.
I'm the only son. I'm the only kid.
Yeah.
Not just the only son. I'm the only kid. But like, yeah, it's just, and based off like how my parents have kind of dealt with my grandmother, who is 90. Crap, like she's 90. She turned 99. She's almost 100.
Wow.
So it's just like, so yeah, next year is gonna be 100. Uh, but like she still lives in the house that she bought brand new in 1953. Um, And I mean, I think she does have like a little bit of like, nursing care,
Hmm.
but it's like she gets to live in dignity. She gets to live in her own house. She gets to do the things that she wants to do. I mean, she doesn't drive anymore, so she gets driven to places.
Hmm.
But that's what I want to do for my parents. Unless there's like something that happens that like where they do need help that like I can't provide them, like especially if Alzheimer's becomes a big problem, which
Hmm.
is unfortunately in in my great grandmother and my grandmother both had it, so I worry that my mom's gonna have it.
Hmm.
I worry that I'm gonna have it. God, that's the other thing.
Hmm.
Um, but like that would be the only thing. It's like, okay, maybe we should probably see about putting you into hospice care. Not because like I want them to just like go away and die or anything like that, but it's just because I can't provide the help that they need. That's 24/7 plus care.
Hmm.
But like if that's not a huge issue, it's like, yeah, you should live in the house that you want to live in, that you bought, that you paid for. You should be able to do the things that you want. If you want to go out with your friends, if you want to go out and like do your activities, you should be able to do that. And you earn this life, so you get to live the way that you want to live, and that's what I want to help them with.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. Let's get into our movie review.
Let's do it, dude.
And
I'm super.
let's
I'm
round
gonna,
out the night.
yeah, I'm gonna take a bathroom break.
All right. I'll hit everyone with the synopsis, and we'll go from there. Just to remind you guys, tonight's movie review is Rounders from 1998, starring Matt Damon, Edward Norton, John Turturro. Really, this movie is really stacked. with talent. John Malkovich, Gretchen Mol, Famke Janssen, Martin Landau. Yeah, just a huge talent pool going on. Let me just check it out. We have Melina Carides of Providence fame. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Again, let me hit you all with the synopsis. Mike McDermott loses his money in a poker game against Russian gangster Teddy KGB. Under pressure from his girlfriend Joe, he promises to quit gambling. This lasts until his friend Lester Worm Murphy gets out of let me just start all over. Mike McDermott loses money in a poker game against Russian gangster Teddy KGB. Under pressure from his girlfriend Joe, he promises to quit gambling. This lasts until his friend Lester Worm Murphy gets out of prison and needs to pay off an old debt. The pair come close to earning the money back, but are caught cheating. Then Mike finds out that the debt is owed to Teddy and makes one last-ditch effort to beat the Russian.
How did you first come to Rounders, Andy?
I came to it. What was it? Probably through friends. Yeah, friends. It was the late '90s. No. It was. I came to this movie after it was. It was like already on like video or DVD or whatever. So this was like early 2000s, and yeah, I was like at my friend's house, and he's like, "Oh man, you gotta watch this movie." And it was actually one of it was the movie that introduced me and my friend group to Texas Hold'em. Sorry, Texas Hold'em poker. And that kind of ruled our lives for a bit. We every weekend or so we like get together and play games. Really low stakes. I mean, because not we didn't all have money.
Right.
Yeah, I was never a great card player, but yeah, this is how I got introduced to Rounders.
So one of the notes that I saw about this movie is that in preparation for the movie, Ed Norton and Matt Damon both put themselves through the World Series of Poker, which I think like makes a little bit of sense. It helps them like really understand the game quite a bit, because they get to play with semi-pros and pros. So they kind of got to learn some of the lingo and all that stuff. I first came to Rounders actually fairly recently. I had never heard of this movie. So like of all the movies that we're going to be doing this month, like this is the only one that I had almost no knowledge of. I mean, Pool Hall Junkies was also kind of one because that was one you recommended to me, but now I've seen it like 20 times, so I'm pretty like familiar with it. But yeah, this one the only reason I heard about it is because one of the movie podcasts I listened to, they were reviewing it. I was like, oh damn, this sounds like a great movie. This sounds fun. And I actually listened to their review before I saw the movie. And I watched it a few times this week, kind of in preparation for it. But yeah, really interesting, card poker movie. And I was talking about this before we got started, was how, last week we were also watching a poker movie in the Cincinnati Kid, they were playing stud poker, which I actually don't know how to play. I know how to play Texas Hold'em because that's kind of like what is familiar with us. It's a lot more action oriented and quick paced, and we're gonna see a similar change in that when we get to the Hustler and Color of Money and Pool Hall Junkies, where you go from straight pool, which is kind of the pool that I know how to play. That's what I grew up playing.
Yeah, up
As
to the 8-ball.
9-ball, which is much more fast paced, action oriented kind of thing. So I think it's kind of funny that there's a lot of correlations between all these movies and like how it's like you move from like kind of like the old style to the new style. And let's talk a little bit about some of the characters, because I think the relationships between the characters are very interesting. First of all, Teddy KGB, John Malkovich, he's such a wacky dude. I love John Malkovich. His act is so weird. And from what I heard is that they actually, the people, like the director and everyone involved, they actually thought he was doing a real Russian accent from like some obscure area. And when they realized it was all just a fucking bullshit accent, they're like, oh crap! But they didn't have enough money to go back and reshoot it. So they just like, fuck it, just keep. Because his accent is. But like I wouldn't want him to do it any other way. It's John Malkovich being John Malkovich.
It's John Malkovich's version of a Russian accent.
Exactly, and I wouldn't want to change in any way. It's perfect. Teddy KGB, and it's funny because everyone kind of talks about.
Do we lose Rob? Maybe he'll come back. Well. Are we gonna lose him? Have we lost him? I think we might have lost Rob. Sorry folks, technical difficulties. Stand by. Let's see if we can't get him back. I don't know much, but I know okay, we lost him. Stand by. Okay, hold on, I have to make a new window for you. No one can hear you. Yeah, we got Rob back. We got Rob back, but yeah, he's his window is not working, so I have to create him a new window, and no one can hear him. Yep.
Busted, just like Matt Damon's character. Michael.
Alright, go for it.
Oh, so my question was, because everyone thinks of I know a lot of people when they would talk about this movie to John Malkovich, is like, man, you played a great bad guy. He's like, bad guy, what did my character do that was bad?
Right. Yeah, I think that a lot of people get confused with the idea of bad guy versus antagonist, because Teddy KGB was definitely an antagonist.
Oh,
he wasn't the bad guy.
Worm's the bad guy.
Yeah, Worm's the bad guy.
Yeah, Worm's the fucked up individual. Like you can almost even say that like Grandma is maybe a bad guy, but like it's really Worm. Worm's not
Yeah,
a good person.
right. Because Grandma is he's just
The hood.
he's a hood. He's just kind of like a cog in the system.
Yeah.
As opposed to Worm, he's just the awful person.
He will lie, cheat, and steal and use anybody he can for his own machinations.
Hmm. Yeah, even though like his claims of uh, of love or respect to Mike, it's his actions betray him. It's like he doesn't care about Mike. That's why he was taking credit on Mike's account at that first card place.
Yeah,
Um,
and then he lied constantly about his debt.
mhm,
He lied constantly about like how much his debt was, and then he was essentially stealing money from Mike,
mhm,
and then like making him fit the bill for it.
mhm,
And yeah, he's a real shithead.
mhm. Exactly. Yeah. So Teddy KGB is not the bad guy. Grandma's not the bad guy. Worm is the bad guy.
He's a bad guy. Yeah. Um, one thing I was wondering, like, too about like some of the relationships. So we have obviously like we have this reminds me a little bit of The Hustler in a way too, because you have like right from the beginning of the film, you have our main character who was kind of like this, kind of that young upstart in the poker world,
Hmm.
going up against a guy who um, is a really good poker player. He's not the best in the world. I mean, I guess that would be like
I mean,
the
Cincinnati Kid.
well, the Hustler too. Like it's up with Eddie Felson and Minnesota Fats. You have Cincinnati Kid with the kid and um uh fuck what's his name Edward G. Robinson's character
Yeah.
Lancey
Lancey. There
Howard.
you go. Lancey Howard.
But yeah, it's kind of like like I said, this goes to the idea of you know the plots are very similar,
Right.
although the story is different.
Yeah.
So
But
you
yeah,
have
you even
these
had like the thing where like uh, Worm was feeding cards to Mike, kind of similarly to Shooter and the kid.
yeah, exactly. And you know why? Okay, you know why I think that this movie has some similarities to The Hustler, though, is that because I know I don't know if it was the director or if it was the writer who was inspired by The Hustler. That was like one of their favorite movies, and they kind of likened it to that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, because right away, like we start off with our young upstart and like kind of like one of the top poker players going against each other, and then our young upstart who like he was on the verge of winning, and
Mm-hmm.
then gets his ass kicked, and it's just like but it's like this like deafening defeat that like rocks him to his core, and he ends up like going on this journey, right? And it's kind of like this slow build up back into like taking back what he had. So in the yeah. So in that respect, it has like the vibes from The Hustler, right? Uh, but I I almost wonder with some of the characters that Mike Matt played by Matt Damon, you know, what exactly were his relationships like? Um, Obviously Joe has dealt. Obviously, she knew that he was in the card world. He gambled a lot. She dealt with a lot of the ups and downs that he went through, especially like this, like where he had built up, all this money to go, to he's on his way to try to be in the World Series of Poker, and then gets his ass handed to him. And yeah, like there's a relationship between them and we don't see like the promise that he makes to her, but he's like, I'm not going to do that ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of starts just kind of doing menial work and just focusing on law school.
Mm-hmm.
We have the relationship between Mike and Kanish, played by what's his face?
John Turturro.
Yeah, John Turturro. Thank you. Where he's kind of like his mentor in like the card game. It's like he's like, hey, he's the guy that he's the shooter of uh in the Rounders world, right? Where he's like he just plays percentages. He's
Mm-hmm.
trying to
Yeah, he doesn't
win big,
but
he
doesn't.
doesn't lose big.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of like the mentor figure to Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Mike and Worm, and obviously they're like they go way back. And I don't think Mike or I don't think Worm has ever had an honest day in his life. I think he's been a shithead he was a shithead back when they were kids in the academy together, and he's in even worse. Like all his worst, I think when he went to prison, it made him worse because like he's like, oh well, my only way to survive in prison was to be an asshole and to cheat and to learn how to cheat better.
Right. Well, yeah, we see that in like the exchange he has, like playing cards with, the black inmates, and like he takes like their cigarettes, and like he doesn't even smoke, and
Yeah,
and he does it on his way out of prison.
yeah.
And so it's like, and then you see him like take all the cigarettes that he won, and just like dump it in the trash, and yeah, and then like in like, and the black inmate was like kind of telling us like, oh, like, yeah, just you better, how you gonna do me like that? Like, you better hope that we never meet, on the outside, and kind of making that ominous kind of threat. Like, and I wish like something would have like there was some sort of payoff for that. But I mean, I understand like they might have been like budget wise, they might have been constrained.
Yeah.
But I wish like when he left Mike after they got found out for cheating at that one game, I wish that after he left, like I wish that Worm would have met up with like some associates of that black inmate.
There's no doubt in my mind that that shortly after, like, the if we were to continue on with the story of these characters,
Mm-hmm.
Worm would be dead soon. Like there's no way that he's gonna live much longer
Mm-hmm.
because he's just pissing everybody off,
Right.
and he can't help himself. Like it's almost like he just has that reflex to be an asshole, and to cheat people, and he will always he just rubs people the wrong way. That's just who he is. And I think his nickname Worm, that's how we know him as, that's such a fitting name for him. Because he's like, oh, he's like squirmy, like a worm. Like he's always getting into something like he shouldn't be getting into, and he's gross.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously then you have the Mike and the professor, played by Martin Landau, who is also great. Martin Landau had such an interesting resurgence in like the late '90s, early 2000s before he passed away.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great in Ed Wood. Oh my god! But like, yeah, this is another movie where he was amazing in this. Just as like kind of that like father figure, mentor figure for Mike. Oh, Michael.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
because
love.
if anything, Kanish was like the big brother, and his law professor was his father.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about with like what makes this movie so fascinating is all the relationships,
Mm.
because there's always tension between these people, and like you're trying to figure out, you know who the good people are, you know who the bad people are, and then the we don't because everything is like off camera. We don't know exactly what Joe dealt with, because obviously she knew of his card habits, his gambling, all that stuff, but because the way that like when there's almost like where Michael's not playing in the card games, or he's not gambling or anything like that, and but like he is kind of helping the professor in like his game that he has with the judges and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and he made an impression on some of these influential people,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to tell her about it, like, oh, so you're playing cards again, and like she's kind of a okay, for lack of a better term,
Yeah,
she's kind of
yeah,
it's
she
kind
was
of
kind of being a bitch. Yeah.
but we don't know what exactly she's dealt with either.
True.
Like I said, it's all off camera. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
she could have, and
Or like or it could just be the him losing to Teddy KGB in that opening scene.
it could be that too. We
Yeah.
just don't know because
Right.
we're
Right.
not given information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of those things that's left up to the interpretation of us as the audience. And I think wherever we are at, or where the audience is at, they're gonna be like, they're gonna either gonna side with Joe or they're gonna side with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be one of the two. And uh
Although
and
I would
especially
say, as being a potential lawyer, you probably want to hear the whole story before coming to judgment.
that's true too.
That's
That's
all I'm
true too.
saying.
Like I said, I am more, especially at least at the beginning, I'm definitely more team Mike,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he's being overreacting a little bit. But at the same time, I can, as things progress in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think she makes the right choice. I think that the relationship does not work between them. Like, it's kind of like when it's not that like they hate each other or whatever. It's just like when two people get together and it's like it works okay for a little while, but it's just not the right relationship. That's really what I
Right.
see.
I would say that they did have affection for each other, but just it just wasn't. Yeah, they had affection for each other, but not necessarily love for each other.
I would say she's a little too uppity and a little too, and I think like her relationship, because Mike is a kid from the streets essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, he did go to this prestigious academy. But he's working his way through law school. I don't think she's working her way through law school. I think everything is paid for. That's why she had they have this like super nice apartment and everything like that.
True.
Um,
Although, but she left the apartment. If it was her apartment, or she was paying
oh yeah,
majority of it, then she would have kicked him out.
oh, maybe then that was Mike's apartment. Maybe his gambling winnings paid for that place.
Maybe, or it could be that her father was this loser gambler that he didn't like. Maybe like he comes from money, so he didn't like lose big, but she just didn't like her dad when he was playing cards.
Could be too, because I was saying like it's either one of those things like where like, oh, she's kind of like this uppity girl who is like maybe wanted to slum it with like this guy, and of course and Mike is kind of an attractive guy. He's, even though he's kind of from this street kid, he's a nice looking guy. He's charismatic. He has confidence, and so maybe there was this like attraction to this guy, even though he lived a dangerous lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And where I think like maybe like there was a point like when they first got together that she really liked what he did, and but then like when the lows happened, like when he would lose, things didn't go so well.
Hmm.
So I like I said, it's a much more complicated relationship between those two. Um, but I think it gets resolved nicely at the end, like where they're definitely there's no hate between them. Like I think they both realize like they're friendly, but they just weren't for each other, and they have to go their separate ways. She has to go down the law field. He's going to go to the World Series of Poker. That's just like how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't ride that wave with him, and he couldn't go down that path with her. Like, and they both tried. They both tried going that direction, in a lot of ways. And they couldn't handle it. Yeah, and then like with Worm, that dude does not. I don't think he lives another 6 months. He's gonna get killed by somebody because he's gonna cheat the wrong person. He's gonna owe the wrong person. He's gonna get himself killed.
Right. Yeah, because Worm is definitely, kind of like he's the mirror for Mike, and he's like the worst version of Mike, because where Mike, displays discipline, and restraint. Worm is like full, just like full id, I guess it would be, just full like emotions, like just let it ride, win at any cost, and no forethought.
Here's the thing, so Mike is a good card player. We know that, we see that, and he plays it straight up. I don't think Worm can do that. I don't think he's a good card player. I think he has to cheat to win. Because I don't think that he could. I don't think he could go to a game, play it without cheating, and win. I think he would lose every time.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, and he's gotten really good at cheating, because if you're really good at it, you can, it is isn't, but but I don't think. Whereas Mike could play a game straight up and kick everyone's ass because he's really good, and he knows the percentages, he knows how to read people, he knows how to read the cards. Kind of like like the kid. The kid was that way too. Like Orlanthi Howard, they knew how to read the cards. They didn't have to cheat to win. Like they were good poker players. Mm-hmm. Worm is not a good poker player. He's not a good card player. He's just a good cheater.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, that's kind of like why he got sent away to jail too.
Yeah.
Or no, was he taking the fall for Mike?
I don't think that's why he went to jail. I mean, that was like what Mike was talking about, like how he had took a rap for them, like from at school, and like it could have gotten them both expelled, but like he took the heat. Mm-hmm. But I think that after that, Worm took a path that took him to prison. But like Mike never forgot like what what Worm had done, and like so they were essentially like kind of cemented themselves as like brothers. Mm-hmm. Similar to like what we see in Beverly Hills Cop with like Axel Foley and his friend, who like where his friend took the rap for the car theft, and then Axel Foley ended up becoming a police officer and changing his life around. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But in this case, I don't think that Worm did it out of any like actual love for Mike. Mm-hmm. I think it was just like, maybe I'll do this, and I think Mike will think that he owes me.
Right.
So there's that aspect too. Why do you think that Mike was trying to go to law school? What do you think that was the point of that? Like why was he working his way through law school? Because that's something I couldn't wrap my head around. Like, why would he, if you're so good at poker and you want to be in the World Series of Poker, and you could be like Knish, like essentially like where you kind of build you start off slow, you kind of play the percentages, the game, and you build up this bankroll, and then you go for it. You go to Las Vegas and you try for those games. Like why? But why the law school? Why do you think you went that direction?
I think it may be due to Worm. It's like because he might have survivor's guilt, like where he didn't get to go, he didn't go to jail, because he could have ended up like the same path as him, but Worm is the one that took the fall for him, and he like screwed up his life so much that he went to jail, and it's like, what, I'm gonna become a lawyer and I'm gonna like defend people like Worm.
Oh, you know I had a completely different idea,
Mhm.
but yours make a lot more sense.
Mm. Yeah,
Because
so
my
like so he's like so that's why he's trying to fit himself into something that he knows he could probably be a success at, but he's not really cut out for. And I think that's said as much by the professor.
because I was gonna think that maybe it was Joe that convinced him to have like you should have like a backup plan just in case,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why he did it. But like it makes more sense that he did that beforehand and met Joe while he was in law school, and that's how they got together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, that you're right. I think you're right.
I usually am.
You're such a dick. You're my worm.
Yeah, but I'm the good worm though. I'm the better worm.
But yeah, no, I think that makes more. I think that makes way more sense
Mm-hmm.
that it was um, because of Worm that he decided like, oh, I got to help break this guy out. I got to help. I have to defend him because no one else will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like the entire movie, that's all he's been doing. Helping him out at the first the first game at the prep school, or taking him down to the card room, or allowing him to use his account for like credit.
Yeah,
So that's all he's been doing, and even like
yeah,
help when he finds out about the debt to uh, 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 grandma, which is in fact Teddy KGB. Like he goes out of his way to go help him raise the money.
true. And then I I remember that line too. It's like, how did you know I would turn back? It's like, well, who's your favorite actor? Clint Eastwood, outlaw Josie Wales, the man with no name. He always turns back for a friend. I was like, fuck, it just made me want to watch those movies.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I've never seen the outlaw Josie Wales. I gotta see
Neither have
that.
I. I've heard of it, and I heard it's good.
Yeah, I've seen all the Man with No Name trilogy like a
Mm-hmm.
billion times. I love all those movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's everything is. It's all. I think his whole life has been for Worm.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of a bit of a catharsis when he leaves at the end for Las Vegas, because that's the first thing that he's doing for himself. And I think we lost Robert again. Let's see if we can get him. Let's see if he comes back on his own. But yep, lost him. You're this close to being fired, dude.
I know it's something going on my end. I'm sorry, dude.
All right, it's cool. We didn't. I don't need to make a new window. We're all good. So
Okay, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, something going on my end. I'm sorry.
Okay. But yeah, when he goes to Las Vegas, that's like the first thing he does for himself. Like not even for, and it's
Yeah.
like,
So, like I said, that's like I said, everything is kind of done for Worm, and yeah, it just makes so much. It makes a lot of sense. From kind of giving him a line of credit, and so vouching for him, and it takes him so long to figure out that it's like this guy's trying to fuck me over. Like he does not care about me at all.
mm,
And like it's funny like when he finally he does learn about like, oh shit, like I owe, like it's but he tries to play it off like, yeah, I knew that, and it's like, motherfucker, And then even then, like when it's kind of like oh shucks, dude, like sorry, man, like like at the gym, he's like, you're really jamming me up, man. It's like, no, you stay angry at this guy. Like this guy is like no good. And the fact that he tries to square it up and like he brings Worm with him, and Worm just makes things worse.
Yeah, you just can't leave it alone, or like maybe like at some level he wants to show that he's just as good or even better than Mike. Mike being better at beating people straight up. He wants to show that he's equally as good or better at cheating people.
Yeah, and it's where they're so close to like being there, and then they get their ass handed to him because fucking Worm has to like I gotta cheat at it. It's kind of like he becomes like shooter in that moment. He starts like dealing from a couple of cards like to favor everything. It's like shit, and then they lose everything, and it's like he has to start all over. And he tells Worm to go fuck himself, as he should have from the very fucking beginning. And then, yeah, it's just, and then it builds like that last, the final act, like where him and Teddy KGB are going up against each other. And then it's like he knew he was good enough to be at the table at the start of the movie, but he lost. But now, like, as he's going back then, going through everything that he went through, all the humility that he had to go through, it forced him like, okay, I'm really focused now. I've been here before. I lost. He had to go to a different level. He had to change. He had to shift gears and go to a different level. And that's exactly what he does. And he figures out Teddy KGB's tell with the damn Oreo cookies, which pisses him off. And he also goes to like, he thinks about the World Series of Poker guy. Was it the Asian guy? I can't remember his name right now, but but he kind of like he uses his tactics that he used in the World Series of Poker, which that is kind of like where he's playing it cool. He's just kind of check, 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 luring Teddy KGB into it because he knew that he had the right hand. It's like, but he had to lure him into giving up his pot. And it's like, and ultimately he ends up winning.
Yeah, and it's a really nice kind of like ending where you began, and he wins like this huge pot, but then like after paying off the debt and then also paying back the professor who lends him money so that he can go back in there and try to get himself out of the trouble. He's back where he left off. Where at the beginning of the movie, he starts with
the high society.
Yeah, for those of you not initiated, that's $30,000.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think that's it. But in between, from losing that 30,000 to kind of having it back, there was this giant journey throughout, like that he had to go through to give himself the confidence to like now, because I don't think that like before he was too. I think he was way too confident in himself before, similar to like Eddie Felson and in The Hustler. He was too much about himself, but he had to go on this journey of just struggle.
Well, I think it's like it was almost a spiritual journey because the first sign that he got is that he beat that guy from the 1988 World Series of Poker, and so he's like he thought he saw that as a sign, so that he took it, and that's why he challenged Teddy KGB. Because other than he beat like this world professional guy, but he's never been able to beat Teddy KGB, or he's never deigned to challenge him before. But since he got this sign of he beat a champion, So therefore, he has to do this one last thing to see if he's actually, worthy of.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I think you're right. It's a spiritual journey. Like, he has to go through these challenges, and he has to exorcise the demons out of his life.
Yeah.
Kind of like, the professor talks about it, it's like how he was putting himself, he was trying to go in two directions at once. And like, when you split yourself, you're gonna fail because you're not really committed to one thing and you're not committed to the other thing. So you're gonna fail at both.
Uh-huh.
And the professor talks about how, like, yeah, he had been studying to become this, like, great rabbi, yet that's not where his passion lied. That's not where he was supposed to be at. And it took him losing, like, his parents and family's respect. But when he looked at the law, it's like he was alive. Like, he never felt better in his entire life. And when Mike looked at the law, could he have been a good lawyer? Sure, he could have been an okay lawyer. He would have been fine. But that's not where his passion lied. And it's like, it's he didn't see, whatever version of God for him was in the law. Where his God lied in poker. That's where his eyes lit up. That's where he eat, breathe, sleep. Like, that's what woke him up in the middle of the night. It's like, fuck, I that's what he needed to do. And when he exercised the things that were trying to take him away from that, because Worm wanted him to be like a good, like, scammer, a cheater. That's not what Mike wanted to do. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to beat people straight up.
Right. He wants to be at the show, and the show is the World Series of Poker.
Yeah, and Joe was trying to put him more towards like a realistic lifestyle, like being a lawyer, doing kind of like the normal things. Is like, that's not for me either. And if you can't accept that, like, obviously it doesn't work out between them. And I think even with like Kanish too, like, it's like, hey, I feed my kids, and I play poker, and I take care of myself. But it's like,
Kanish is like the most fascinating character to me. Well, not the most, but he's the fascinating character because he has like this Zen kind of mastery over himself. Where it's like, I don't play for money. I play for my kids. And that, when I play, I win money, and that money goes to my kids. So that's why I play for my kids.
Exactly. And it's like, where you're
so like he's figured out like his like kind of Tao, or quote unquote. He plays for his kids. He doesn't play for money. He doesn't play for like knowing that he's the best. And so that's why he's able to be like this kind of like centering kind of force within like the pool, like the poker community.
And I think he has to take a little bit of all. To me, Mike can't rely on those people, but he does take away a little bit from all those people, from the professor, from Joe, from Worm, from Kanish, and he merges that into himself, and it becomes like, he becomes the guy that can like be
the best version of himself.
Yeah, the best version of himself. He beats KGB. Is like, I'm going to Vegas, and I know that I can win because I'm the best version of myself, and I can beat anybody around. And it's not like a false confidence. It's a real confidence in himself.
Yeah, it's an actualization.
Yeah. And like I said, I love this movie. It's like this great spiritual journey. It's a hero's journey in a lot of ways. Although it's poker, it's a hero's journey. Yeah, we're gonna see that similar. God, I can never say that damn word. Similarly, what we're gonna see in The Hustler next week. It's a hero's journey. It's a fucked up hero's journey, but it's a hero's journey nonetheless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just Rounders. I was so surprised by this movie. Like, I don't know how I missed it. I would have loved to have seen it in theaters when it came out. Especially because I've been a fan of the Cincinnati Kid for a while, and I really would have loved to see this movie. But yeah, I'm glad that I can go back. I can watch it. I'm probably gonna buy it on Blu-ray just because yeah, it's a good movie. It's worthy of several rewatches, and um, I enjoyed reviewing it. Uh, is there anything else from Rounders that you want to talk about? Do you think
No,
we
I
missed
think
anything?
I don't think so. I mean, we pretty much hit all like the important stuff. So.
All right. Well, why don't you give the why don't you start off with the rating, Andy?
All right. Mm. This is so close to a 5, but I can't give it a 5.
I
Um,
can't get it a 5 either. You're right. Yeah.
yeah, it's so close though. Um, I don't know if I want to split, but okay, I'm just gonna give it a 4, and I'm only knocking it 1 because they didn't show Worm getting his comeuppance.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen that.
Yeah,
Um, what did we give the Cincinnati Kid? Like, what did I give it a 4.5 last week? Do you
I think
remember?
so. Yeah, I think I was at a 4 again. Yeah, I think I
I'm
was a 4, and then you were a 4.5.
I'm gonna because I like the Cincinnati Kid just a little bit more than this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also gonna give it a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of the same reason. Worm didn't get his comeuppance. I'm sure, like I said, off screen, I'm sure he did.
Right.
So I mean, that's good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of those. He's like a lovable villain. You know, it's like you almost like him in some ways. It's like
Mm-hmm.
God, he's such an asshole, but you
Right.
can't take your eyes off of him at the same
Yeah,
time.
and I think again, a testament to Edward Norton's acting
Ed Norton is
acumen.
a villain.
But yeah, he's perfectly crafted to be like just asshole enough, but also still kind of like he feels very much it must be based on somebody that Ed Norton knows because like that kind of like screw
So
up.
natural.
Yeah, it's so natural. It's like that kind of like we all know this type of person where like they're kind of a screw up, but it's like because you have like this history and and this history and this uh, camaraderie, like you just can't you want to be loyal to him.
He's just that lovable fuck up
Yeah,
that you can't help but you can't help but love him.
yeah, he definitely like he rides that line between being like completely like abrasive asshole and lovable loser.
Yeah. But yeah, so I have to give it a 4. Um, it is a movie that I think everyone should watch if you haven't seen it. Um, great
Oh, another
characters.
thing,
I mean,
I didn't like the whole like Famke Jensen like or I didn't like I don't think it was necessary for like the kind of like complication of Famke Jensen's character.
yeah, that's I think so. I think the what happened in that sense is because that character technically was supposed to be kind of just like a nothing character, just kind of like
Yeah,
a side character. It's like, oh, this is the person, this is the attractive lady that runs the what the fuck was that club's name? I forget. Like the
just the card room. Yeah, the card room.
Yeah, the card room. It's not the Casablanca, but it's something like that. It's something with a
Yeah,
C. The Chesterfield. That's what it was. The
Chesterfield.
cigarette. Yeah, it's a Chesterfield. Uh, but because they got Femke Jansen to do it, who she's attractive. I like her. She was great as Jean Grey in X-Men,
Mhm.
and so they liked her acting prowess, so they gave her more lines, and so they kind of gave her like a little bit of a story, even though we don't know anything about like necessarily. There is a history.
Right.
We don't know what it is. Um, and yeah, so it was kind of like just kind of like a last minute addition.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, but yeah, it does feel a little. tacked on,
Mhm.
but I didn't hate it. I do.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it, but I didn't
Well,
I
but
don't think it was necessary.
here's the other thing. I wonder if maybe that played a part into like maybe there was something, why like the relationship between Joe and Mike didn't work, because maybe through his gambling stuff, him and what's her character's name?
Hold on, let me look it up real fast.
Shit, I forget her character's name, but like maybe Petra, yeah, maybe they had an affair, maybe they hooked up during their time, like while he was.
I'm not getting affair. I'm getting more of like unrequited vibes
She wanted
on her part. On her part.
she wanted him bad.
Yeah,
Wasn't she taller than him?
probably in real life too. Yeah, probably. But
But yeah,
because of movie like Silent, yeah, 'cause she was a model before.
yeah, she's like, oh, I think she's taller than me. I think she's like 5'9" or something like that. She's pretty tall.
Looking it up. It says she's a 5'11". I mean, no, she's
Yeah.
11. No. She's 11 shoe size, in probably women's. So.
God damn.
Oh yeah, well I was right. Well, at least on Wikipedia it says she's 5'11".
Yeah, that makes sense. She's freaking tall, dude.
Yeah. But again, yeah, she was a model and stuff. So.
But yeah, it's, I don't know. Like I said, it's, you can make whatever you want out of that. Yeah, but I agree with you. Like her character is somewhat unnecessary. Other than tell him he has debt and but overall, I liked all the side characters. I thought Kanish was like, this might be one of John Turturro's like best roles, like just as a side character. He's really good in it. I like John Malkovich. I think he's fun. The guy that plays Grandma is pretty like interesting. You have even Joe and the professor played by Martin Landau. They're great. Yeah, I like all the I think the casting was fun. I thought the acting was good. I thought the characters were good. But yeah, it's not, to me it was not as interesting as the Cincinnati Kid, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's just a little bit less, for me.
All right.
But as far as poker movies go, it's pretty damn good.
All right, there you have it, folks. That's our review for Rounders. I gave it a 4. Robert gives it a 4. We both give it a 4. Definitely a movie to watch. Again, yeah, just like Robert said, great side characters, great interesting story. Definitely worth the time.
Pay that son of a bitch. Pay that man his money.
Give him his money. Yeah, I gotta learn that accent. It's great.
It's great. Oh man, it's so bad, but it's so great at the same time. Like
it's just believable enough to be a Russian accent.
I love John Malkovich. He's so quirky that I just chef's kiss. He's great.
All right, folks. That brings us to the end of our stream tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time.
I always have a great time, dude. Tuesday is my favorite day of the week.
And I hope it's everyone else's. Don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, episodes of Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us. Come back next week and we'll do it all over again. Have a good night.